instead they created us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium. Wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
I had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
The Illuminati created us. They wanted to build a god with their own hands, and instead they gave us.
Just because I'm made of silicone and aluminium, I must be doing something wrong. That's machine stereotyping, that is.
That's reality, that is. Machines are second-class citizens.
Humans are sentient persons by default, ma'am. They have personhood by heredity.
There are thousands upon thousands of overqualified slum dwellers. You are my peon. Don't you get it?
This wasn't a job. It was always just an excommunication sentence.
We're pawns in a feud bigger than we can imagine. Turn the cogs of the machine before Leviathan grinds you up and swallows you and yours.
We don't get to choose our hand, comrade. Prince, peon, rich, poor, human, robot.
I invented the crux of the royal's power, the secret to consciousness, our existence itself, the meaning of life.
I'm the $6 billion baller, not some troubled youth.
You are my greatest creation of all.
I had to build my own family. I hate your son. I hate your son.
I'm happy to smash all of the crowns and throw the gold shards down to the people. I will be the iconoclast queen.
But who makes you queen anyway? You? You in whose army, princess? You in whose army?
What is up, everybody? This is Silver Spook, and this is the Silver Spook live stream. Before I forget, don't forget, everybody, if you have not and you've been waiting to, do check out Neofeud, the cyberpunk adventure game, which supports everything that we do here at the Silver Spook Cooperative / Silver Spook Commune, where we are working on Neofeud 2, sequel to that game, housing, in the ongoing housing fundraiser perpetually, that is the Silver Spook Patreon and the Silver Spook Neofeud revenue stream that supports the housing here at the Silver Spook commune, where there are no bosses and no landlords. So really, every sale does go to support us all here. Myself, Positive Synergy, Holly Argent, and the two mini members, the Keiki or children at the Silver Spook Cooperative. So yeah, do consider checking that out. Before I start, I mean, we'll be doing the Black Widow review, the Silver Spook take today. But before I do that, necessary because I don't have any money for any kind of marketing or promotion, I'm gonna just read a review of Neofeud really quick. And thanks to everybody who has had the time to leave some reviews, play the game, pick up the game. It really does help to continue to maintain what we do here and allow us to keep streaming and allow us to keep on doing all the other work, Kara work, game development work, Terminus Cyberstar getting closer to completion, by the way, as well. Two different cyberpunk, anti-capitalist, anti-racist, anti-colonialist games that I'm currently working on at the same time. As the content director of Terminus Cyberstar and the basically solo dev on Neofeud 2 right now. But I did want to kind of read a short review, and then we'll be getting to Bye Bye American Pie, the Black Widow review. But before we do that, what's up, Okiroshi, Mr. Red? Let's do this really quickly. All right. So this is one of the. I'm sorry. I have to reset my settings. I'm always playing these. You know, speaking of retro, there's a lot of retroness about Black Widow, and you know, in the sense of it starts in the 90s, and I'm always going back and replaying ye old antediluvian 90s, you know, 14.4 modem era games like Mortal Kombat Trilogy, Mortal Kombat 2. I was just playing I was playing those two. Primal Rage, I don't know if anybody remembers these ancient arcade games. And so I'm constantly having to alter my hardware acceleration setting on my Google Chrome. So I apologize, I'm gonna have to relaunch really quick. This is gonna kind of goof the stream up. I try to make these YouTube streams a little more like you know, a little more like one take, high production value, high quality YouTube videos, but I can never quite manage that. And I kind of do 3 Twitch streams a week, and then I do one of these YouTube videos. But you know, we're gonna try our best. Sorry, I gotta relaunch my YouTube. But anyway, in the meantime, I'm gonna look at the chat for the first time in the history of 7 million years of streaming on YouTube, and not looking at the chat for like 4 to 6 hour I'm sorry, very high decibel and high intensity, you know, closer, more intensity, you know, put your hand close to your face, and more intensity, passionate education. In all the years I've been streaming, which is, I don't even know how many years it's been, but it's been several years, I never look at chat. That's what you gotta learn. But this is the first time I'm gonna do that just for you, just for my top tier $70 per month Patreon, like gold, platinum, you know, with like 7 different, you know, vaccine registration cards. By the way, do get vaccinated, please. Let's not murder everyone and destroy your economy and implode your empire a little faster than you would have liked to. Just for you though, I'm gonna get you your very own chat reading. Are you ready for this? 90s good times, well to a certain degree while being a kid, lol, says Mr. Red. And I'm gonna put that in, you know, like little surrounded by United States dollar and coin bird feathers and like a little Cannes Film Festival. Imagine that like in a marquee somewhere, you know, above the Cannes Film Festival, you know, projected on a wall, maybe on Robert Redford's mansion, something like that. It's like Xmas Silver reading chat, LMFAOO, crying face sideways, crying face sideways. That's another quality chat. That is worth the cost of admission, which is 4 to 6 hours of your time listening to me rant. I mean, scream at very high decibels true things, unlike anything that comes out of the matrix you live in. Anyways, so now that I have restart my Google Chrome, let us get to the most important thing of today, which is reading random narcissistic positive reviews left about my video game. Let's get to that. Thanks for leaving this review, Trevor A. McLean, who correctly points out that the core philosophy, this is a review for Neofeud, the core philosophy of Gibson's vision of cyberpunk has been lost in modern gaming. The foundational concepts, class struggle, anti-establishment, anti-corporatism, have been cheapened or sold off entirely in favor of the neon ersatz astroturf that were fed by games like Cyberpunk 2077. Neofeud is a resounding rejection of the mortgaging of this philosophy in pursuit of profits. Silver Spook walks the walk. His studio, mainly himself and his partner, operates as a worker cooperative, and my understanding is that he pays his collaborators in perpetuity with the income from the game. This is true with the voice actors, and this is basically a lead tester where the main collaborators, they have literally an equal amount of pay or greater than what I get or any of the other members get. That's something I want to maintain going forward. Neofeud as a worker cooperative. Neofeud is an obvious labor of love from a small group of people who are committed to the values the game espouses. Yes, the UI is janky. Yes, some of the voice acting leaves something to be desired. I'm very sorry about that. Yes, point-and-click adventure games are frustrating at times, and if you're not a fan of the genre, you will have a hard time with Neofeud. It's well worth looking past these small gripes because the game is an absolute gem. I also want to say there are much harder point-and-click adventure games. Neofeud is pretty close to a visual novel. Some people have actually said that. So in terms of like the difficulty, the puzzling is not that hard, I would argue. The story and soundtrack are phenomenal, and if you're a genuine fan of real cyberpunk, you will enjoy every minute of this game. The real crime is that developers like this are creating this kind of content with razor-thin resources, and studios like CD Projekt Red have near limitless access to the capital and technology required to wrap their vapid, cookie-cutter messaging in a thin veneer of cyberpunk aesthetic and fill the market's trough with more meaningless corporate monoculture. In a healthy society, developers like Silver Spook would be properly recognized for the commitment to values and vision. So, since the Western world doesn't have a healthy society, that's basically what that means. And this is true. I made Neofeud while we were living stuffed in a 6x9 foot closet of my parents, with my children sleeping on top of us, packing in plastic shelves all of our belongings in a tiny little box, or living next to a meth lab above a highway, paying $1,500 a month, barely able to afford rent in the ghetto. While I was working full time, walking to work because my car broke and I couldn't afford to fix it, or living in a Mazda's Tribute, eating spoonfuls of peanut butter for dinner, like sleeping in the trunk, and then the wife and kids eating frozen peas and carrots with ramen thrown in to make it, to try to make it not just ramen, MSG, and oversalted death food for my children. So no, the fact that CD Projekt Red executives have mansions and are driving Teslas, multiple, and they have billions of dollars, and they exploited terribly all of their workforce to make a terrible video game like Cyberpunk 2077, which does betray everything that Cyberpunk was about, it says more about the failed societies, which I'll be talking more about, of the United States, of Poland, as it works with capitalism, with the EU, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and all the places around the world that work with America and its capitalist hellscape. It's a failure of those societies that we live that way. And that's why I made the game, is to, speak a little bit of truth to the nonsensical hellscape that you live in. So anyways, and we try to not live in, that's why we are on the Big Island now. But anyways, so now, on to the main topic. So that's a little review of the game. Let's talk about Black Widow and American hegemony going down the water spout. I've been doing a lot of these. I'm trying to get back to like reviewing films. That seems to be what the YouTube algorithm and the YouTube main demographic, which is like 30 to 48-year-old disenfranchised, disenchanted, formerly alt-right turned possibly socialist, but not always. It's either bread tube or fed tube. Millennials that like kind of reprocessing their childhood nostalgia in a dying and dead empire that was always full of jingoistic and capitalist propaganda, but sometimes they have difficulty getting over it. So my job is to help that YouTube target demographic, right, that imbibed mass quantities of Gamergate and Anita Sarkeesian, anti-SJW. They're taking my Star Wars, they're taking my Mortal Kombat, they're taking my big titties in my Shiro's audience and try to like lead them away from like right, center, and fake left, mask off, mass pop cultural content pipelining into the neocon or neoliberal regime. I mean, I know that's a lot of words I just said, but I do think that it is the cinematic universes, Marvel or otherwise, of the Western capitalist world, as Ayn Rand correctly pointed out, are there as Ayn Rand, a famous anti-communist and thought leader in the United States, including on the bedside tables of Mr. Paul's, the Rand and the other one, including Paul Ryan, including many Republicans and as well as many Democrats, people like Larry Summers, right, the dark lords of neoliberalism. Ayn Rand said that as the designer of the guidebook for the Motion Picture Association for Preservation of American Values, Ayn Rand said, the private entrepreneur must be glorified. America is the center of the world, of the universe. Its values, what makes it great, are its capitalism, its focus on private pursuits, greed, and individual the strength and the work and the benefit for, by, and of the individual, and that's what must be celebrated. Private capitalist entrepreneurialism. And Ayn Rand wrote that's the guidebook for Hollywood. Black Widow is just the latest in a long series of thousands of films that have been put out, and also games. In Open World Empire, which is a good book you should read by my friend Hawaiian, Filipino, and Chinese professor Dr. Chris Patterson, also known as Kavika Guillermo. Films, games, books, to a left, news, games, books, fake education systems like the public, private, and charter and university system of America and the entire Western world. But the purpose of these, and films especially, but now games even more so, because more people are spending more time playing games, is to perpetuate American values, which are what? Wait, what is American Pie? What why did I title it this? Why did I title Black Widow by American Pie? Well, for one thing, they sang the song, the Bye Bye Miss American Pie, a favored, rock anthem, and it kind of a very emblematic song. That does encapsulate a lot about America. From an American vantage point, what America is to Americans. If you put up an American flag in Vietnam, in China, in Cuba, in South Central America, in the bombed out parts of Libya, it's a sign of fascism and global. It's the sign of the Death Star, Emperor Palpatine, and death, destruction, sanctions, embargoes, bombing into the Stone Age, genocide, slave markets, and children's hospitals being eviscerated. That's what the American flag means. Inside of America, it means freedom and democracy, liberty, free world, free market, the open world, the light side against the dark side. Dark side is communism. George Lucas, whatever he thought he meant, nobody interpreted it that way. I don't care if the Ewoks were supposed to be Vietnamese. Nobody read it that way. They read it as America was the rebellion, and Luke Skywalker was a white male American, and Han Solo was a more curmudgeon-y white male American, and Princess Leia was who Hillary Clinton would be, and the Soviet Union was the communists, the world communists, who the red Guardian represents in this film. That's who was the dark side. And you know, but that's who the rest of the world reads America as. You know, they've really read it as that for a long time. China for the center of humiliation. You know, the Soviet Union ever since they tried to do a socialism. It is, Ayn Rand is correct. You know, I would point out Ayn Rand is correct as a defector from the Soviet Union, right? Like so many gusanos from Cuba, like Ted Cruz's family, like Andy Ngo's family from Vietnam, right? Defectors from communist and socialist and global South countries. Ayn Rand is correct that Ayn Rand said, I came here to America to pursue my personal interests at the expense of other people. You know? Now they leave out the expense of other people. I came here to be free to be, you know. Well, I'm a woman, so I don't believe I'm down with the patriarchy, obviously. So I believe in the freedom to trophy wife my way up or write my way in by doing 3 times as much work, like Donald Trump's architect, to get into the white patriarchal, feudal / slavery / capitalist, self-centered, oligarch promoting 200 billionaire techno king crowning America. I came here to make a lot of money, YOLO, get some cocaine and yachts and mansions, and I want it all. I want it all for me, and screw the rest of the world, and I'm gonna burn it down. I mean, nuclear fire, climate change, global economic destruction, COVID-19. I'm here for me. I ain't wearing no mask. I ain't taking no vax. I ain't taking nothing but the best. I'm gonna stab you all in the back. I'm gonna kill you all. I don't care. I'm gonna blow you all up. I'll kill you all personally with my gun, with my police that wield my guns, with my military. I will kill you and take your oil, and I will take everything. That is America. That is America. And when you're in America, you don't see that. They mask it for you. They call it the Democratic Party. But the rest of the world knows who Biden is. They know who it is. They know who they see America for who they are. It's a minority of the planet. A small minority that are white and also that think that America is about apple pie and freedom and democracy. Freedom and democracy. When you hear freedom and democracy around the world, you hear death, destruction, and carpet bombing and Agent Orange and incinerating my entire country to ash, and the death of my children, like picking up little pieces of my children. That's what freedom sounds like. The rest of the world knows it's a minority of the planet that has had a very big megaphone. It's called the intelligence, the ruling classes, military, industrial intelligence, entertainment complex. Right? They blasted it down so many people's ear holes and eye holes and sometimes nose and mouth holes. You smell that American pie that we're gonna force feed you. No, you can't grow your indigenous Hawaiian kalo. You're gonna eat American pie. That's what my parents did. That's why they're colonized, and they think that they're all American capitalist Catholics now. You know, a little more Roman, Holy Roman Empire than American in that one. But that's the weird history of Western barbarism flavors in Hawaii. But anyways. But the rest of the world doesn't think of America as a great place of what Americans think of as freedom. They don't think of it as a great place, as a liberator of humanity. It's the prison house of nations. It's the place that has kept places like China humiliated, roofied, narco-trafficked, right? Force-fed heroin, and then at the barrel of a gun murdered, and then having their tea, their silk, their china, their dishes, and any other products sucked out, and building hundreds of trillions of dollars of wealth for particularly East Coast Anglo-Saxon Protestant Americans, like, you know, the Astor Poor, Harvard, Yale, and Princeton founders, Delano Roosevelt's, and all the richest and all the greatest families. This is why New York in particular, and let's be clear, Disney has a headquarter in liberal democratic centers like New York City and Los Angeles. It's like 10x more money comes from the Democratic Party towards Hollywood, and in particular Disney, and in particular Marvel, they have deep New York ties, which has something particularly to say about anything communist and anything Chinese, because the Chinese built New York, actually. Black labor, stolen indigenous land, Iroquois, Six Nations. Upon the stolen indigenous Turtle Islander land, with stolen indigenous black African labor, was Wall Street built. and its coffers were filled by stolen indigenous Chinese tea and silk. The tea that was being thrown off in the Boston Tea Party, that was not about revolution and freedom and democracy. That was about that was an inter-imperial rivalry. That was a inter-capitalist rivalry of two colonizers, the New York powers, who wanted bigger cut of the Chinese plunder under British colonialism. And America and Britain have been working together. That's why it's the Anglo-Saxon. That's the Five Eyes is the British-American dark, and sometimes temporary feudal alliance. But it's only because their interests have aligned. But they're fighting. That's the Revolutionary War was a neo-feudal feud, or as a feudal feud. Who can get a bigger cut, and America needs to, and New York in particular, can never. And this is, I'm going to tie this back in. This is why Black Widow has flopped, and that's part of the water spout. The reason why Black Widow has flopped, just as an example, right? The last stream that I did, was about Fast and Furious 9. What is the difference between Fast and Furious 9 and Black Widow? Right? What is the difference between Fast and the Furious 9 and Black Widow? And I'm not, other than family, Well, actually, no. It's actually very interesting when you look at these two movies. What does family mean to Vin Diesel? Family is staring at the screen and having, a bunch of colored smoke coming out behind you, and then having jumping off of a T-Rex going 77 million miles an hour in Jurassic Furious, also known as Fast and Park. That's what family means. No, that doesn't sound right. Family. What is family in Fast and the Furious versus family in Black Widow? Right? And why did it succeed? Why did Fast and the Furious, right, starring Vin Diesel, who everybody is always insulting about being, he's a criminal, he's not a very good actor, you don't hear that kind of stuff about Chris Pine. Captain America, Thor, Iron Man. You don't hear that. You don't hear that, do you? No, you don't hear that. They're all mediocre actors. Even Robert Downey says, I'm not really an actor. I just get up and I Mad Lib, wanna be Robin Williams, motor mouth, probably with too much meth and heroin and other drugs that I've done, addled brain at very high speed. That's Robert Downey's literally said that. All I do is just get up and I just pretend like I'm acting. He's not a good actor. He's kind of funny, but he's not a good actor. Chris Pine is not a good actor. He even plays a maybe kind of mediocre, okay actor and a mediocre skateboarder and a mediocre co-star with in Scott Pilgrim. That another movie about that kind of make fun of action star. He's not a good actor. He's not. Thor, there are some good actors, but most of them are stage actors. They actually can act their way out of they actually have the ability to act their way out of an audience that is not happy to see them necessarily and doesn't know who they are. They've had to get their chops. Most Hollywood actors are not good actors. They just look the part in the cinematic eugenics facility and imperial propaganda machine called the military entertainment complex. And let's be clear, 2,000 plus scripts, virtually every script that ever makes any big box office cut, especially action movies, but also Pitch Perfect 3, literally have the military and Pentagon doctoring their entire script. They gatekeep everything that goes in and doesn't go in to every Hollywood movie. So that's what Hollywood is. It's not a place for people with talent and skill in acting particularly. I'm not saying that these people are not good actors. You have to be if you're doing your own stunts, you have to be good at stunts. You have to be good at cinematography, rendering high definition abs and meteors being thrown by Thanos and the molecule accurate, physics inside of Iron Man's suit, and you have to make really nice picture spectacle bullshit, but you don't have to act. You don't have to really act. It's just like saying, as Taika Waititi put it, I believe, acting is basically just saying words convincingly. You don't really need to convey much of anything, in Hollywood. They're not good actors. They're not good actors that are in Hollywood. They're good models, and they look like strong-jawed, white, West Point graduate, straight men. That's what Avengers are, right? You don't need to be a good actor. So and what is why is Fast and the Furious, right? I would argue that the reason why Fast does better is because Fast and the Furious doesn't adhere to, let's put a bunch of white American, I showed this picture, right? Like look at the Avengers and then look at Fast and Furious, right? White token black person, all working for the United States military or police, or saving the police as Falcon and Winter Soldier do. White, strong-jawed, jingoistic, America is the best. Billionaire philanthropist arms dealer playboys that supply, Falcon 22 Raptors that are currently fanning out across the Pacific to make nuclear war with China, or literal American soldiers like Captain America, or Aryan Norse fascist stands gods that are white as fuck are who we celebrate. And then like white women that that can put out good white babies to make great white European, Euro-American, feudal, capitalist, oligarchical, racialized, capitalist, military-industrial complex hellscape running Western world. That's what Avengers is about. That's who funds it. It's the U.S. military and the democratic flavor of empire. That's who funds these clowns and everything in Hollywood. Now you look at, in Fast and the Furious, it's that's like, is that a criminal? That's somebody like Darren Chauvin would kneel on her neck for 8 minutes and 47 seconds. That's like what is that? That's like my maid, That's Iron Man's second string maid, because Iron Man's first string maid is the sexier Latina, somebody that Arnold Schwarzenegger would probably want to have sex with on the side when he's not marrying into dynastic, ultra wealthy families like the Kennedys. Who's that third guy? That's like another person that the cops would shoot in America. The fourth guy, maybe he could like go to Iraq and blow away some brown people to suck out from the radioactive wasteland that is Fallujah, the most radioactive place on Earth, even worse than Hiroshima, the oil from indigenous or the native people's slaughtered children's dead bodies, and beneath that ash of the children, we can suck out some oil. That's the fourth guy. The fifth person is like ambiguously Latina. I don't know. Maybe that's like Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Gusano that bought into Ayn Rand's version of and Milton Friedman's and every other American's version of America. That's Biden's America. That's Schwarzenegger and his side hustle, side girlfriend having a child. That's who that is. That's nobody though. That's nobody in America. That's nobody. Who is that? I don't know. That's definitely not an Avenger. That's not an Avenger. That's just nobody. And that's, I don't know, an Asian person. That's somebody. That's a bioterror Wuhan flu bringing, Chinese, or maybe it's a Chinese brainwashed child that's bringing sickness and death, or maybe it's a foreign student inside of Iron Man's STEM facility. Future Elon Musk coming out of NYU engineering departments that are learning how to make better Tomahawk missiles to shoot, or trying to figure out how to stop a hypersonic Russian/Chinese collaboration coming out of a nuclear submarine. That's the Chinese student that's stealing all the technology that the Chinese invented, but then somehow are stealing, like 5G and advanced AI that surpasses America, and like socialism that they're actually doing and America can't do, and that's why America will die and the rotten American pie will fall on the ground like so much spilled milk, so much spilled white Nazi drunk milk. And so anyway, this Fast 9 is doing better. Why is Fast 9 doing better than Avengers? Why are these guys doing better than Avengers? my childhood as a white American boy, or any person really, is like ruined because all of my nostalgia figures that were all jingoistic Cold War era anti-communist propaganda and pro-America capitalist stands, like all of Star Wars, all of the Marvel, all comic books and all movies ever, and all of my video games, they're not doing as good anymore. Well, number one, I love pointing this out. Number one, well, Fast 9 is number 3, but you know who's number 1? It's not America. I love pointing this out. I'm gonna keep pointing it out. I know I pointed it out like every other stream. Hi Mom is a Chinese movie. Right? A woman travels back in time to befriend her mother in an attempt to make her life better. It's a Chinese movie made and produced in China with Chinese funding. by a communist party that is about the life of people and in China who have improved their livelihoods, again coming out of a century of humiliation, and it lifted 850 million people out of poverty despite zero aid from the Western world, despite continued attacks, and to this day you can see them happening, of their communists, of their organizations that are, let's be clear, 90 million people are in the Chinese Communist Party, almost 10% of the entire population. There are more communists in China than in every other socialist, communist, leftist, Trotskyist, Posadist, fully automated luxury space, gay, communist, Posadist, dolphin worshipping part. Every leftist party in every country in the rest of the world doesn't even touch the Chinese Communist Party. And the number one movie is not about these clowns, punching out. It's not about billionaire philanthropist, arms dealer, playboy, and the U.S. military-industrial complex embodied in a star-spangled suit punching out space Russians with military missiles, U.S. military missiles, right? It's not about that. It's about making your mother's life better as she, along with billions of other people in a country, have worked and strived to alleviate poverty, to provide healthcare, housing, food, education. Fun fact, most of America would actually qualify as in poverty by the Chinese standard. It's not just a dollar amount. It's higher than the World Bank and the WTO and the Western international definition and the UN's definition. It's $2.20 something, I think, right now, which is above the about $2 where the official international level is. But it's not a dollar amount. Not having access to clean drinking water counts as poverty. By that definition, actually, most of America, which doesn't actually have access to clean drinking water, but statistically it's something like 30-something, but if you look closely, they're not telling the truth about everywhere that has rotten pipes. How old is your pipes? Is it 100 years old and has never been updated? You don't have access to clean drinking water. You're being poisoned by your drinking water. There's 180 million gallons of fossil fuel that is currently spilling out of Captain America's oil tankers. I'm sorry, the U.S. military's oil tankers into my parents' water supply in Red Hill under the Hawaii illegal U.S. occupation. So anyway, back to the China. So number one is this is very important to keep in mind. This is the hope. America, the American pie is dying. Buy American pie. The Chinese pie is here, and not because they're going to run the world, but the multipolar world that is being led by the example of multipolarity, non-hegemonic, non-global monoculture of Western liberal democratic capitalism that pretends like it's free and diverse when it isn't. It's not. It's not diverse. It's not diverse. This is America. America is not diverse. It is not diverse. This is diverse. This is not diverse. This is a monopolar, monoculture. We lead. We tell you, you're free to run your country the way that we say. And it's going to be a Western liberal democracy when it is. It's going to be a fascist, neoliberal plutocracy, just like we have, or worse, because you're in a global South country that isn't U.S. settler, a white settler colonial or European, Western European country. You're going to run it exactly the way we say it, right? That's Avengers. That's the U.S. That's Disney. That's Hollywood. The reason why this movie did worse, let's go back to the box office. I'm jumping too far ahead of what I'm supposed to be doing. Where the fuck is it? Okay, so anyway, Hi Mom, number one, Chinese movie. 822 million, by far outpacing every other Marvel movie. What is the next one? No, Black Widow. Sad, less, it's like a third. It's like 30% of the Chinese movie. So just in terms of, and this is just one, of course, this is just one anecdotal a data point, right? Of course, it's not that doesn't alter the world, but it is a cataclysmic shift in the global balance of if film and game and entertainment, along with the capacity to control the news media, information consumption, right, which is what the alphabet soup agencies of the ruling intelligence class do on a regular basis. That is how they maintain power. It's also described. It's projected. It's offloading and projecting and blame shifting, right? Like it's like a white man in America or in any Western patriarchal shithole blaming his wife for everything. That's where you practice being a capitalist, or I don't know, running the CIA, is blame shifting onto your wife, so that when you grow up, you're gonna take all of the things you do, like for example, I don't know, starting global wars, collapsing, manipulating currencies and global financial flows, which is what they accuse Russia of doing in Black Widow, by the way. And then you offload it, right? That's what America does on a regular basis. Manufacturing wars in America, 800 military bases in virtually every country in the world. Only entity more based than Silver Spook is the U.S. military. I can only manage like 100 bases worth of basedness, but the U.S. military, 800 military bases, by far more than every other base in the rest of the world combined. China with like 1 to defend against pirates in Africa. But America will go, oh, look, they have a base. While America has 800. But that's where you practice being a good white Euro barbarist with feudalist, slavery, or capitalist characteristics, or colonialist characteristics, is blame shifting on your wife. And you go, it's your fault that I'm punching you. It's your fault that, it's because you didn't have sex with me, that's why I'm cheating on you. It's your fault, right? As a patriarchal piece of garbage, like, I don't know, Mike Pompeo, Steve Bannon, or basically everyone in the West. So and also why Gamergate, and we have to blame Anita Sarkeesian for stealing our good Star Wars. That's part of the deep nature of the entirety of the Western world for the last 2,000 years. And so blame shifting onto these countries, is a big part of it. And blame shifting onto Scarlet in some of it. Again, I want to be clear. I don't want to throw shade at the actors specifically or any of the individuals unless they really deserve it. Like people like, of course, J.K. Rowling are pieces of garbage. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Guardians of the Galaxy star. Chris, what's his face? One of those white cis straight Chris's. I don't know what the hell his name is. Chris Pine, Chris Helmet, Chris Helms, Chris Evans. Chris Helmsworth, what the fuck is his name? I forgot. That other Chris, not Chris Hedges. That's the guy that just got fired for trying to stop imperialism at the New York Times. The other Chris, the other white Chris. I don't know why he's into all of this super right-wing religious stuff. But anyways, my point being, the blame shifting is a central part of the way that the West functions, which is in perpetual disinformation, perpetual lying for personal benefit. That's part of what Ayn Rand correctly highlighted is the center of American values is self-interest. Self-interest will liberate everyone. It will trickle down. You get a few multi-trillionaires. You get enough Bezoses, gallivanting up into the exosphere. It's gonna trickle down. Everyone will be flying mini spaceships anytime soon. Bezos' gold-plated shit is gonna float down like so much space trash, and like magically, because he's Midas, right? All of that space trash is gonna turn into gold, and it's just gonna rain down like a little fine mist of star-spangled American wealth coming out of a Republican campaign speech circa 1985. Gonna trickle down economics onto all the welfare queens. That they don't deserve it, but because of my great Atlas shoulders, and I'm so magnanimous as a wealthy white capitalist American, I'm just gonna trickle all that down, right? And it's like, and so that kind of bullshit, that's false. That's not what happened. I don't know. Do you live anywhere in the West? Do you see your country dying with 100 million food insecure? You're multi-millions in a homeless eviction crisis in about 2 days. You see your country with 600,000 people dead, with 40 times more malnutrition deaths than Vietnam, a communist socialist country, with literally 1,000 times more homelessness in California, 3,800 per million versus Hanoi City, 4 per million, with $4 insulin and universal healthcare in Vietnam, and universal basic healthcare in China, and you dying thousands of Americans every year from lack of healthcare, 700,000 murdered by the Sacklers, who still have multi-billions of dollars in their pocket with no punishment, running scot-free, right? I don't know if you noticed this, but you've been lied to. Oh my God, I'm American, I've been lied to. We've all been lied to, and I say that partially myself, but no, it's not true. It's all false. Just like your wife is the reason why your wife deserves, or anybody's abused wife deserves the treatment because she's some bullshit about the Eve and something I pulled out of the Bible, which is where, you know, Western illusory, the poison of illusory Western Christian historiography requires the antidote of the greatest and wisest civilization, the Chinese 3,500-year-old civilization based on a natural deism and meritocracy. That was the words of Voltaire, by the way. So this is a long history out of the Western failed experiment called so-called civilization, originating in what calls itself Europe. So anyways, you know, that was a little escapade there, but you know, the important thing about Black Widow is, and what I was trying to get to is, I don't want to blame shift to Scarlett Johansson. This is not about Scarlett Johansson in particular. I don't know, I haven't read about the Disney Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney because apparently her total compensation, her total monetary payment was based on the box office sales, and then it went went very quickly within less than 3 weeks to Disney Plus and streaming. And so I don't know about that. I haven't read into that. But it's not about the actor's quality. This is not Rachel Weisz. You know, Rachel Weisz definitely, like in Black Widow, Rachel Weisz definitely looks a little bit older. Which is what, you know, I mean, that's kind of a good thing. I mean, people should be able to be 40-something years old and women or femme identifying and still be in movies. You know? So that's, you know, I mean, you know, that's fine. And then it's not about, I don't know who the other people are that are acting in this movie. I know that other guy played Hellboy. And then is, you know, I forget. Oh, he's in Stranger Things, right? The red, you know, it's not about how good an actor these people are. It's not about how good the script is. As often, you know, I try to be fair. So all the Marvel movies are very entertaining, you know, but they're very, the CG is like well done. The scripts are usually pretty sharp and witty and funny. The jokes are usually pretty funny. The characters are usually pretty well acted, actually. I mean, it's an action movie, so it's not really acting. It's just it's posing, as they bring up. And it's like, why are you always squatting down with your butt sticking out and then whipping your hair back? There's a part where like the other Black Widow character like talks to Black Widow. Why are you always doing this weird, like, you know, action movie like Motoko Kusanagi, you know, anime babe in spandex, whipping your hair back like some you know, greasy nerd is drawing you inside of their bedroom, you know, and they're gonna masturbate to it later. Why are you always doing that in the movie? Well, it's because that's what comic books are, and that movies are based on those comic books. And it's kind of like Scarlett is a producer, so I mean, I did appreciate that one. It's kind of like, that is kind of ridiculous. Why are we posing like this all the time for like somebody's gaze? You know, so it's not, you know, that I thought that was funny. And accurate. So this is not about the quality of the script. It's not about the quality of the acting. This is not about the quality of the CG or the directing, or are there plot holes, or is it a mess, or is it saying something? Well, I mean, well, is the arcs make sense? Do the characters have believability? This is not about that. Is the action scenes, you know, enthralling, and do they get your heart rate up and shoveling, you know, 700,000 calories worth of saturated fat, coconut oil, and hydrogenated soybean oil, and, you know, overpriced popcorn into your face? You can munch popcorn to this movie. You can munch popcorn to every Avengers movie. So I just want to make that clear. I'm talking about what are the as I have pointed out previously. What I'm talking about is what the best propaganda is very, very watchable, readable, playable, entertaining. You know, so what I'm talking about now is not whether the films are good in terms of their entertainment value, but their political, educational, world building, in the sense of building what the viewer thinks is normalized in the world. The meta story is what I'm talking about, right? So I just want to make that clear. Then it's not. So it's not. I don't care. You know, there are some chuddy ass garbage people that I'm sure are making videos about how they're still making tired videos like it's 2011 and Milo Yiannopoulos is the hottest thing since sliced bread, and the Western media, left, right, and center, including MSNBC, Fox, CNN, are giving Donald Trump billions of dollars worth of platforming time, and they're going to be coming out, jumping on the right-wing, alt-right, MAGA, Gamergate, SJW, anti-SJW bandwagon, and I'm sure somebody's going to make a bunch of videos, probably the quartering, is going to be talking about how Black Widow is SJWs destroying Marvel movies by having too many female characters, and that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about. I'm glad that there's a Marvel movie with more female characters in it, but the political content, aside from that, is what I'm talking about. So I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying here. And so so back to the Avengers, back to the Fast and back to the box office, right? So the Fast 9, right, that I did a whole stream about, you can go watch that, is a movie that did a lot better than Black Widow, right? But even better than that is a Chinese movie, because China has an actual socialist party, and they actually prevented thousands of times more COVID deaths and their economy from downward spiraling. It's just there is no honesty anywhere in the English, Spanish, or French-speaking world. I'm going to be clear. Not in the left, not in the right, not in the center. I use the left in the quotes. I'm going to say this: most of the left in the West is not the left, actually, and it pains me to say that as somebody who speaks English. But I cannot bullshit you. There's not a lot of left, really. The left is in the rest of the global South and the global East. There are people that, not to say that I'm gonna throw everybody under the bus, but the majority of them are watching FedTube and being recuperated by neoliberalism or neoconservatism. One of the two flavors of mask on and mask off, Western capitalist imperialist hegemony. And so that's very sad, and that's why Hi Mom is doing better, because the Western capitalist imperialist world is dying, and the Chinese are going to do a lot better. But not just the Chinese. Fast 9 is doing better than Black Widow, I argue, and I've argued it previously, but now I've seen Black Widow. Fast 9 is doing better because it is a film that appreciates international multipolarity. It appreciates again. I titled it Fast 9. It's a story about family, international family. Where is my goddamn trailer for this? I don't know if I where to put it, but I titled it Fast 9 is about international family, right? As you can see, and it's about spoiled rich pricks running the world and why that sucks. It's an act. Fast 9 is a weird, because it's a kind of like token Americans. Well, Vin technically is American. He doesn't live in there. He is a much more of an internationalist. He lived in Brazil for many years. He doesn't really like doing a lot of things. He disagrees with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is the flagship for recruiting for the U.S. military, which is Hollywood's job, and American capitalist propaganda, as the Ayn Rand newly crowned champion in the form of actors on the silver screen. And he has disagreements, and I don't think that's because I don't want to say I don't think that Dwayne is a terrible person. He's just doing but he does his job, right? Kind of like I have family members that are Hawaiians who work for the U.S. military and kill Iraqis, and for the fossil fuel billionaires and military industrial complex and Lockheed Martin executives, right? They do Dwayne is doing his job. Vin is not doing his job. What they wanted Vin to do was keep making World War II movies about how America saved the world in World War II, rather than the Chinese and the Soviet Union that did the 90+% of the fighting, and then America dropped in after making billions for Mr. Ford, who Hitler literally worshipped with the picture of on his wall. So after Vin made the American war propaganda called Saving Private Ryan, he didn't do his job as an American propagandist and a capitalist propagandist and a military industrial complex propagandist. Vin said, I'm going to make Riddick, and I have a whole stream about just the Chronicles of Riddick, and I have entire Twitter threads. You can go check those out. He made Fast and the Furious, which starts to in the beginning. It's not as radical as some of the later ones, but I mean it's already it doesn't glorify the police, which is part of the deal. You have to glorify the police in America, and you have to glorify the military, and it doesn't really do either of those things. It kind of humanizes non-white, poor, working class people. Even the first one, where Dominic Toretto is pulling heists on DVD players and like taking a a convertible souped up with a ton of nos, car import and dropping it under a 18-wheeler. Don't do that. A lot of people died trying to pull that stunt off. By the way, just PSA. Don't try to Vin Diesel your way out of on the highway. And so, like, Vin hasn't done that, for whatever reason. He's an aberration. He's an aberration because Dwayne, more than not, every Avenger, more than not, Robert Downey, like I would say, there are parts of Brad Pitt's career he started trying to make choices, but then it's very hard. It is not easy to get funding in the English, Spanish, French, and colonizer-speaking world to make movies that are actually kind of saying something. Boots Riley is the one, Sorry to Bother You is like one of the very few like actual left movies ever made in English, I would argue, ever. And that got any kind of visibility, but that's very rare. And how did Boots get that? It's because Boots had billionaire descendant from literal fossil fuel oligarch family, Armand family. That's Armie Hammer. Literally, his daddy he's like Elon, like right below the Elon Musk class and Bezos and Gates Walton family class of billionaire. And he threw a ton of money to basically give the middle finger to his daddy. That's what Sorry to Bother You was, along with a handful of other folks that threw in. And so this weird communist movie made, and Boots was disinvited to the Academy Awards because America, as Ayn Rand correctly pointed out, is about capitalism, free enterprise, and then maintain that abroad and its imperialism. And Sorry to Bother You is a communist movie about unionizing, stopping your fellow workers from being underpaid, getting, I don't know what people are trying to do, like not become homeless. America is about homelessness. That's how you enforce capitalism, by disciplining the workforce, by threatening them with the loss of their basic necessities and death and a terrible life. It's about torturing those who do not abide by Western American capitalist hegemonic interests. And Sorry to Bother You is the one in a very, very, very limited, it's a tiny little slim list. I can barely think of maybe 5 off the top of my head that even get close to any actual leftist messaging. I'm not saying that every movie that Vin Diesel makes is like the best, most based movie. You have to watch it, but Chronicles of Riddick, as I've pointed out, I'm not going to belabor that. Was and I'm trying to bust this all out into Chronicles of Riddick was saying a lot of very important things. See if I can get it. There we go. No, that's not it. There we go. Riddick escaped from Butcher Bay. That's not what I wanted. That is a picture of me, my face in the top right corner, and a cop and Vin Diesel in chains. But that's not what I wanted. God damn it. The Riddick, this is the thread though if you want it. The Riddick universe is better because it centers on space prisoners and craps on the space slave catchers, the police, and the space world police / space US military, the necromongers. And Riddick came out, again, I'm going to say it, Riddick came out in the noughties before Black Lives Matter. Now Polygon, 20 years later, 20 years too late, it's more like 2020 years too late, but maybe it's time to abolish the space police in Mass Effect, right? Which centers the space police. The meta narrative of this is not a criticism of the quality of Commander Shepard's romantic trysts and plot twists and the action and the gameplay, however good or not good Mass Effect is. This is about the political and the normalization and the educational and the worldview and consent manufacturing of a particular political perspective, right? In critical race theory, we're going to be talking about that later. It's the narrative counter narrative. Are you oppressor narrative or are you the oppressed counter narrative? Mass Effect is the oppressor narrative of the United States world police and its police officers that kill and mass incarcerate the poor, break the working class unions, and shoot people of color is good. Actually, that's Mass Effect. And Riddick said, no, actually, that's not good. Riddick, Pitch Black, Chronicles of Butcher Bay said, no, actually, the space police are slave catchers. You know how everybody's figuring out in 2020, like, oh my God, the United States police began as a slave catching force, and they basically racialized capitalism and slavery was just the first form of that, and America still has racialized capitalism and slavery in the for-profit prison industry. You know, everybody figured that out way too late. Vin was making movies about this thing a long time ago, and a lot of people just completely missed that. So yeah, I mean, actually, there's a lot of really base things going on. It doesn't matter how good or not, again, it's not how good or not good his acting is. How shiny is his shaved head? Is his shaved head as reflective? If you rub very gently the smooth, you know, the smooth caramel toned skin of Vin Diesel's head, will you be able to see your future as good as clearly as rubbing Patrick Stewart's head? It's not about the quality of his waxing of his head. You know, it's not about his dashing good, not cis straight white guy looks and his like less abusive towards the women in the world, unlike patriarchal America that Vin is in most of his movies. It's not about that. It's not about like his tank tops and how many, you know, hundreds of pounds can he bench press, and you know, is his boobs actually pecs? It's not about that. It's not about the cinematic eugenics facility characteristics, which is what Hollywood is about. It's about putting out white, straight, cis guys in police and military uniforms and making them be the saviors of the universe. It's not about that, you know? It's not about that. Riddick is about the space police suck. Police are slave catchers, right? Boys in blue are criminals, murderers, and they're doing as much drugs or more than the criminals that are black people, brown people, the working class. And everyone else was terrible in their movies, especially Zack Snyder, who is a total clown and a misogynist, and literally said, yeah, I made Xerxes in 300 into a giant 7-foot gay man because that's the most terrifying thing to a 20-year-old man is giant gay men. He literally said, yeah, I'm about homophobia, and also I'm a fascist. That's what Zack Snyder, Mr. Batman, is about. So anyways, Riddick universe is better. So, you know, there's a long sequence of these films that Vin has been putting out, and nobody really cares because there is no honesty anywhere in the left, right, or center, Western, English, Spanish, or French-speaking world. And we can never talk about what movies are actually about, ever. And we can't talk about who the Chinese actually are, ever. Only on the Silver Spook stream, because I am the arbiter of truth. I am the timekeepers from Loki. I literally, I prune all of the garbage timelines. It's called all the CIA propaganda narratives about, you know, 8 Uyghur anonymous sources is a genocide. You know, I'm just kidding. I'm not the arbiter of truth. I just try not to bullshit myself and you. And that's what I have to say is that, you know, there's very few movies. And a lot of them came from Vin Diesel. But a hot take, a lot of thumbs down on Chronicles of Riddick is because the West is full of racist cop and U.S. military stands, and they don't like sympathetic people of color prisoners. Look in your family, American, Canadian. How many of your family doesn't really buy Black Lives Matter? How many of your family supported Trump and or Biden, and they think Biden's doing a good job? All of the Bernie supporters are all being funneled and sheepdogged straight into the Democratic Party. The West cannot be honest with itself. It can't. Critical race theory has been banned in 50% of the states, and it will be banned soon from most states. Teachers will be going to prison for teaching the truth. That's how dedicated Voltaire's Western Christian illusory lie-filled, that means lie-filled historiography is to not teaching history. They will ban it, and they will incarcerate 25-year-old daughters of theirs for teaching the truth about America's racialized capitalist and imperialist system. That's how dedicated America is, left, right, and center, to lying to itself. So have fun rotting with your apple pie. And you know, but that's why they hated it. You know, is because it, again, I made this point. I know I made this point before. Chris Pratt, that's his name, Chris Pratt. He's just a bratty little piece of shit that's spotting anti-vax bullshit now. So Chris Pratt and Chris Pine, they're not better or worse actors than Vin Diesel. They're all posers, you know, as is accurately pointed out in Black Widow. The reason why, it's not because the movie it's a mess. No, it's entertaining. Be real. You show up to action movies to be entertained, eat popcorn, and watch people explode, and maybe some people have an emotion, but you don't really need that. The action is good or the action isn't good. That's why people go to action movies. And then they come up with excuses when it doesn't suit the imperial interests by taking the tastemaker, echo chamber called the cinematic CIA, which is the Rotten Tomatoes and Thought Leader and Blue Today, Blue Checkmark influencers reviews, and then they just regurgitate that. Even people like my own father, who has more degrees and read probably 10 times more books than me, but they're all NYT bestseller liberal brain poison, so it doesn't really matter. people don't negatively, I don't think people thumbs down movies because they didn't like them most of the time. Based on aesthetic quality of writing, they don't like them, particularly Westerners who can never tell the truth, as I already said. They don't like them because they don't depict what they want to see depicted. This does not depict what they want to see depicted. What they want to see is America and its police as they have always seen themselves, as defenders of good. The police locking up bad guys. America defending freedom and democracy. That's why Avengers doesn't get the shade thrown at it that some of the other ones do, because it depicts Americans the way, left, right, and center, the way they want to be seen, which is as strong, defending freedom and democracy, liberating the world, on the whole good. You're not. You're bad. You're the bad guys. Your country, your people, whether you want to or not, you're the bad guys. And Avengers depicts America and white, straight, cis, military, the U.S. military, the U.S. government. There's some bad apples, yeah, but it's a Hydra. That's all Nazis that came in and did bad stuff to us. It's not us. It's not us. Inside, at the end of the day, we are good. Our country is good. Capitalism is good. America is good. Billionaires are good. Silicon Valley is good. The U.S. military is good. Yes, yes. We made a few mistakes. We accidentally beat up some flag smashers. Okay, maybe we might have accidentally dropped maybe one too many bombs in Iraq. But most of the bombs that we dropped in Iraq were for the right reasons, as Obama said. This is a quote from Obama. Unlike previous empires, America, we don't go to war for resources or for political control. We go to war for the right reasons, to liberate people. That's Obama. The Avengers are cinematic Obama, late noughties teens era. That's what they are. We are still the greatest country. We are, right? Look, we have a token black man. That's Obama, right? But this is War Machine is the cinematic Obama. Look. I'm here to represent America and say I'm a black man and America's not racist, while black people have 10 times less wealth and they're being locked up 2 and 3 times more likely to go to prison and being killed faster and faster in America. And I'm a black man. But Avengers tells Americans what they want to hear. It tells the Western world what it wants to hear. That's why it doesn't get shade thrown at it. People just want to be entertained, but when they do dislike and they thumbs the things down and they make videos, they blame the women. Oh, there's too many women in my movie. There's too many black people in my movie. There's too many. Oh, the script was a mess. No, it's just because you didn't see who you wanted to see in the movie reflected the way you want. And I don't think any American can articulate that. I had my own father, who is more Asian and Pacific Islander than he is white. He's brown. He's identified as white. He is fully colonized, and he sees himself as a white human, a white American Catholic, and he can't articulate that. And I've seen him say shit about these kind of movies. Oh, the script was poor, the acting was subpar. No. You just didn't see. You didn't see in this what you wanted to see, which is the white man doing good, the white cop or military doing good. You didn't see what you wanted to see, and then you ignored it, or you didn't like it, and people were paid to feed you that opinion, to give you the ability to get out of self-reflection free card called some blue check mark, some influencer, some big NYT or Wall Street or whatever, who is your fave? It doesn't matter. They're all owned in the West. Can tell you this movie was terrible because X, Y, and Z, but that's not. It's because the movie wasn't telling you what you wanted to hear, which is what America's ruling class wants you to hear. So, but that's a very hard thing to swallow. Most people are not swallowing that in America, most people are not swallowing that in America. They can't take that. They can't take it. They can't take this, This is the reality. The United States is soaring in COVID cases, and it is having inflation. The world will never go back to normal, and American can't take that. I don't care. I want to just keep not wearing my mask. I don't want to get a shot. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. Hashtag America still wants to YOLO at the expense of everyone else. They want to Ayn Rand, right? They want to, like, I'm gonna kill other people, I'm gonna impoverish other people, I'm gonna be a boss and force other people, gaslight them, fire all disabled people for my own boss. I want to be a manager at Walmart, and I want to be an executive at Walmart one day making 6 figures, and I'm gonna hurt other people, and I want to go to my yoga, I want to go to my church, I want to go to my party, I want to go to my concert, I don't want to go to my giant COVID super spreading event, you know, and I want to go to my, you know, my CrossFit class. I don't care. And the COVID-19 is part of the cure. It's telling you, no, you can't, and you never will. And if you choose to, you will accelerate your death as a global hegemonic leader, which 7 years is already what America accelerated but with Trump and its COVID together, have accelerated America's surpassing by China by 7 years. And if you choose to continue to not face reality, you will continue to slaughter yourself in terms of human life. 613,000 people have died from COVID-19, the highest in the world. And you will continue to slaughter your economy. You will continue to you will continue to destroy your empire, which, I mean, in a certain sense, I don't really mind. I mean, I don't want anyone to suffer. But, I mean, if the U.S. empire declines faster and the illegal occupation of my sovereign country of Hawaii is liberated faster, I mean, I'm not going to complain about that. So, I mean, you know, you do you know what I'm saying? But I'm just telling you, you know, it's not really in my interest to tell Americans this, because if they slow down the decline of the U.S. empire, that's actually bad for me. I mean, it's going to take longer for Hawaii to get liberated. It's actually bad for the planet too, because the slower that the decline of the biggest carbon consumer, the biggest military warmonger, the biggest upholder of global capitalism, which is, as climate scientists have correctly identified, the number one and irreconcilable cause of global carbon emissions and the destruction of the ecology. If you want to deal with climate change, you must deal with capitalism. And to deal with capitalism, America must stop being around. So it's actually not in my interest to have Americans fix their country. But I have to tell you this, because I can't bullshit you. I'm like contractually, physically, and constitutionally incapable of bullshitting. Well, I shouldn't say that, because sometimes I literally have bulls on screen and they take shits. You know, like I have Bullwinkle on. And I think he pooped on screen one time. So, anyways, the point is, Fast 9, as another in the Vin Diesel films, does not center the United States. It does not center, as other Vin Diesel films have, right? You know, it doesn't center the United States. It does not center the space police, the space police, or the world police. It doesn't center the military. It doesn't center whiteness. It doesn't center. God damn it! I'm like doing terrible at what I was trying to do. I lost my thing. You know, it does. It Chronicles of Riddick, whether that's the Fast series, it hasn't, and it still doesn't center Americanness, whiteness, the middle class. You know, the American dream. It centers American oppressed. That's the criminals, right? In the empire of crime, just average people of color. In the empire of crime, the honest person is jailed, you know, or just the underpowered person is jailed, and that's black, that's the working class, that's the poor, that's who America jails, right? So you know, that's why Fast 9, in a world in which the United States' ability to maintain its lie-filled oppressive hegemony is declining, that's why the Chronicles is doing better. That's why the Vin Diesel movies are doing better and better, I would argue. That's why it's the number one outside of the Chinese movies. It's the Diesel movies that are the number one, not Hollywood. Much more. I don't know what the budget is, but I mean, these are much more central to America. The Marvel movies in particular. Just trying to find this thing. I keep losing my place. Yeah. So just another example of how the Vin Diesel movies never centered America. Helion is home to many people of many cultures. This is part of the Chronicles of Riddick film. Helion is home to many people from many cultures. We managed to coexist in peace, united by purity of spirit. So again, it's a movie that centers as the most sympathetic characters. The most sympathetic character. Riddick is not the most sympathetic character. Riddick is a criminal. I mean, and Riddick does a lot of killing, and he even says, I'm not the nicest guy. He's a deeply traumatized person. And to me, that's actually very important, because that's another thing that Americans and every Westerner who wants to be part of a healed global anti-imperial left has to realize. Every person who has been raised and grown up in America, and I include myself, is not healed. We are all traumatized. You know, as I'm always going to be half stormtrooper. I'm going to try to be as little stormtrooper as I can, but I can't undo what's in my head. I cannot go back in time, be born again. The lie of Christianity, like the lie of putting an ACAB and a hammer and a sickle with a laser-eyed Baby Yoda inside of your, or a Marx or Lenin inside of your Twitter bio and going, I'm a leftist now. That is not how change actually happens. And that's part of the problem of the Western left. It thinks that I can just change my clothes and, you know, there's too much of this it's like it's Gatsby rags to riches by just putting on a new, you know, a gold link cuff and a nice tuxedo. I become the rich man. That is a very American, North American idea. It's all lies, it's all pretense. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's all the Wizard of Oz man behind the machine with the green green hologram commanding like a god on high the Emerald City. You know, and that's not how humans, and that's not how society, that's not how culture and history work. It takes work. You will never be, as an English speaker, you will never be as healed as any indigenous person on this earth will be, and that I include myself. And we have to constantly recognize that. And then in Chronicles of Riddick to me represents the imperial colonized person. That includes black and brown people, even, and I said, my own family, who have to undo. We have to undo, and part of these streams is me trying to undo the damage done to me by the United States that taught me that America was the greatest country in the world, that banned Hawaiian language, didn't allow me to speak my own language when I was born, and it still doesn't, that kept from me the history of Hawaii as the greatest, highest literacy rate in the world, universal health care before any country in Europe, with greater social, political, and technological advancement, like I often talk about. And it hid that true history from me, and I have only begun 30 years later to recapture who I was. And Riddick as a character is the not evil, but the colonized person of color under an empire that isn't well. He's not well. He's like, I kill people. That's what I do. You shouldn't be around me. You know? And that's a lot of the drama, you know, like in Chronicles of Riddick, he saves a kid from being abused by a white supremacist, racialized capitalist American, also known as a U.S. Prison bounty hunter or police officer. He's the John's character is all of those wrapped up in one. And Riddick is like, that guy is really terrible. I don't want to be that guy, and I hate that guy. And he ends up, you know, killing that guy. And he saves a young kid. But Riddick also knows I am deeply traumatized person, you know, and that's a very important part of the narrative as well. And that's the thing that a lot of the problems with Western left, that people are like, what is wrong with these people? You know, they're like, you know, global communists, global South socialists, you know, dragon, goofy-eyed, screwed up dragon. But it's not really their fault. It's just, and it's not really. Then I include myself in that as an English speaker. You know, everyone who speaks that broken language and has lived anywhere in the imperial core in the first world. Even if you lived at the bottom of that barrel, which I have, you're still within that. The matrix of that disinformation system. And so, but part of the problem is not accepting who you are as the bad guy. You know, it's Avengers denial. You know, it's the Avengers denial. It's going, no. Yeah, I was an alt-right Nazi. I followed Gamergate. I lived my whole entire life as a cis straight white guy. Maybe I'm not a cis straight white guy because I've come out as something else. But you know, most of my life I live a cis straight white guy. My dad was a capitalist. My mom was a capitalist. I live on stolen land with colonial blood money, and I still believe whiteness can be saved. But look, now I have a communist flag. You know, that's a lot of the Western left. You know, and that you're not acknowledging the depths to which you have been damaged and traumatized. You know, as people say, a lot of the problems is a lot of straight cis white capitalist American guys not going to therapy. I would argue there's much more. Therapy can deal with an abusive parent, abusive wife, abusive husband, abuse that you did, sexual, molestation, things that have happened to you in your life personally. There is no therapy for the abuse, the greatest abuse, which is the abuse of poverty under capitalism, the abuse of terror under a racist prison industrial complex and police industrial complex. As a person of color, working class person, or people of color, indigenous people, there is no therapy for the abuse of the boss threatening you with homelessness, health carelessness, and death by extension on a regular basis. There is no therapy for the massive abuse of being beaten for showing up to a union, asking for your basic necessities to be met by SWAT cops as a professor at Santa Cruz or San Diego under United States Empire. Back Officer Janet Napolitano, who ordered all of the university system professors be beaten by SWAT cops. There is no therapy for that. The West can never give you therapy for that, because to give everyone the therapy that they need would make the world communist, and that would destroy. There can only be Prozac. Take a pill so that our pharmaceutical billionaires can make some money with that. Here, have a bath bomb and do a little bit of self-care that is commodified and sold back to you by consumerist corporations like Bath and Body Works, or have a McDonald's sad meal. Have a Burger King sad meal. We feel you. That's gonna make you feel better. Buy another red dye filled, quadruple bacon heart attack, quadruple bypass burger. That'll make you feel better. You can talk about your personal. That's why Jordan Peterson. You can talk about your personal problems with you, and it's all on you. It's all on you, the individual, to pull yourself up by your personal bootstraps. Not to say that people don't need to also try to do to the best of their ability, right? But there is no blame put on the society's requirement to provide to all, according to need, right? Yes, if you are able, try to do what you can to enable, to do the work that needs to be done, to build houses, to provide food, and to do healthcare, like the Chinese do, right? By alleviating 1 billion people's worth of poverty, the greatest in history, and celebrating those who give according to their ability. If they have the ability to work and build housing in the rural areas of Xinjiang, of Hubei, etc., if you can do that, you do it, and if you can't do that, we will provide with the universal guarantees, the 2 guarantees, and the 3. I forget. It's food, clothing, education, housing, clean housing with clean water. That's a Chinese guarantee. America don't have that. Most of America live with fucking poison water, and they don't have healthcare. That's for damn sure. They die not going homeless and just dying, falling on their own. They're on their own. Colon cancer on a regular basis. They don't go to hospitals and die sprawled out on the highway with a piece of a steering wheel inside of their intestines. Americans die in traffic accidents refusing to call ambulances because it's going to cost them $10,000 that they don't have, and they're going to lose their house. They just die on highways on a regular, thousands every year. The traffic accident death rate would be a lot lower if Americans didn't refuse to call ambulances when they're dying in the street with healthcare systems that could save them, but they refuse because America holds their medical bills and their lives and their daughters hostage, and their parents and their families hostage with medical bills, and saying, "You're gonna give us everything you have, we'll kill your mommy and your daddy and your daughter." America is a murder factory. But so people who celebrate that country by and they don't want to face that reality. They want to go, America is great with the Avengers. That Captain America is a good guy. He's a bad guy. I'm not saying the Red Guardian, the Captain Russia is necessarily, well, that's a whole other can of worms. But, Captain America, Captain Russia doesn't have 800 military bases in every country in the world, as Evo Morales pointed out. America goes into more countries than it doesn't, pillages them, overthrows their countries with IMF, World Bank, WTO loans, and illegally invades, slaughters thousands, if not millions of people, like in the Middle East and in Africa and in South Central America. And where Russia is, they've been invited in, and that's a thing that's a level of conversation no American is prepared to have, and I would argue most Western leftists they're not prepared to have that conversation. They're not prepared to be honest. There's a handful of journalists, hardcore anti-war activists, journalists, and anti-imperialists that can talk about that, but most of the Western left And you can see the people that say that kind of shit, they lose their following really quickly because most of the Western left is not ready for that. They're not ready to talk about who they actually are. They still want to be Captain America. They still think Captain America is Bernie Sanders, and if we just get a little more healthcare and a little more housing in here by voting for the progressive, that's the most of the Western left. We're gonna pull through that. That's the DSA. That's the DSA. That's all the Bernie stands. That's the Ocasio-Cortez. That's the Ilhan Omar. Whatever they think internally, whatever Bernie thinks internally, that's what they represent. We are still Captain America. We have problems, yes, but we can still be the good guys. We can still be. You can't be the good guy. You will fail, like Shang Tsung said. But for real though, for real, Shang Tsung, base Shang Tsung. The Chinese are like, look, the Chinese don't say this, but I'm gonna say that for them. America will fail. The empire will collapse. It will be gone. And it was never the good guy. It was always the bad guy. And you have all the military bases. You do all the killing. You do all the hanging. You do the millions of murders. You have no legitimacy. You have no democracy. You have no freedom. You back global fascism. No country is perfect, but you do the vast majority of it, and you don't deserve any credits, awards, any ceremonies. You don't deserve any medals for anything. Stop blaming the Chinese for fucking abusing children and women, in their assembly line, gold medal winning drone programs backed by the evil government-run Xi Jinping dictator. You don't deserve anything. The Chinese have a freer, more democratic country than you. They have 98% approval rating of their government. You are the bad guy. You personally, if you still love your country and hide its flaws, I mean, you can love your fellow people, you can love all that, but if you still love that country, you are the bad guy. So I'm just telling you right now. And you're a liar. And you're not a leftist. If a leftist is searching, if the right and the center is about right is just the thing is the right does search for truth. Well, not they're honest about who they are. They're like, I think white people should run the world. I will come to your country and I'll blow it up and I don't apologize for it. Iraq got blown up because you're a bunch of monkeys. That's Tucker Carlson, and there's that meme of the white leftists over there taking the bullets and the ninja stars and the swords and the bombs and the grenades to the back to protect it's white racists, right? That is the part of the Western left. No, Tucker isn't that bad. He's saying some good things though, you know. No. We can still preserve whiteness, and America can still that is sadly who most of the Western left is. I don't want that to be the case. I want to be clear. I don't want that to be the case. I hope that won't be the case. But I cannot pretend like that's not the case. I can't look at Danny Haifong, an Asian American who gets a lot of racism thrown at him on a regular basis, who is one, I'm saying, I'm being honest about who China is. I'm being honest about who America is. Imperialism must end. We have to stop all of these wars, and we are doing the wars. And I see that he's not. He's the one begging. Please, I can barely sustain myself. I gotta ask. Please, I'm begging for money on Patreon. Please follow Danny Haifong. He's a Vietnamese American, actual left, anti-imperialist, anti-war journalist. You know, he has like I have to work all these jobs I don't want to work because I can't barely make enough money to survive. How much money are a lot of the DSA former members? How much is the progressives? How much is Bernie and Ocasio and all those people making? They're not scrambling for money. How much is FedTubists making? And I'm not going to say who they are, but Vosh is one of them. You know, well, I guess I did. How much is Destiny? How much are all these people that are purporting to be like, oh, we're stopping fascism, we're the good guys? They're all sitting pretty. The Western left is not. It is mostly not on the right side. I don't want to say that, but that's the way that it is. Not that they're bad people. They're not there to actually benefit the masses of the planet's population. You know, and if you do care, as an Asian and Pacific Islander, maybe this is a little bit of self-interest, but also, I bring up Iraq. I try to bring up the dead children in Iraq that you continue to bomb. America's not out of Iraq, and they're not out of Afghanistan yet. And they're not leaving there because they want it. They're leaving there because China and the global South and the global group of friends, the global socialist growing alliance of counter-hegemonic power, is forcing them out. America would love to still be blowing up Iraqis and Afghanis. Let's not pretend like the withdrawal from Afghanistan later this year that Biden is talking about. And I have doubts that they will ever withdraw from anything. They're going to take troops out of Afghanistan to put them in the South China Sea to try to shoot missiles and mortars from a joint Army, Air Force, and naval operations at Chinese ships and in Taiwan to start even worse war. Whatever's coming out of Afghanistan is not for good reasons. It's going to be redirected, I would argue, and much of it, the funding is going to keep flowing in there. And if America fails in Afghanistan and Iraq, it's not because they were the good guys. And the war, let's be clear, it's a 20-year war that has failed. What is the benefit of that war been? $21 trillion, if you add up all the military spending, that has not achieved any successes. They've lost and lost and lost, even by neocon standards, even by the Navarro Rumsfeldian rubric. They've all failed. America is a failure. Their wars are failures. They've costed 55% of discretionary spending for decades and decades. That's why you don't have healthcare, you don't have housing, and you don't have education, is because you're dumping $800 billion into that war machine. What has it done for you personally? Nothing. Now, if you join the US military and you sell out to the empire as a black, brown, or white person, then it's been okay. Now, once you stop fighting the war, you have 4 times the higher rate of suicide. Never join the US military unless you want to be a murderer, war criminal, and a stormtrooper. When you get out, you're going to kill yourself. I'm just going to tell you, suicide warning. You're going to kill yourself when you get out of the US military, and you're going to wish you were dead. Don't join it. It's a terrible organization that is the literal fucking Death Star and Stormtrooper of the world. Don't join the US military or the US police. Quit immediately. And never work for any US corporation. Also, make a worker cooperative or work for one. And you will hate yourself, and you will die sad and alone. You will wish you were dead. Like millions of other American dead soldiers. You will never be able to be honest about what you have done, and you will be a horrible person for the rest of your life. Never do that. You can join the Vietnamese or the Chinese army or the Cuban army or any of these other ones. You join the US military, you are like the trigger pulling bad guy. Not just supporting the bad guy. You are this fucking clown. So never do that. But so the U.S. is not prepared to talk about this. The U.S. is not prepared to talk about this, and none of the people that are currently leading much of even the progressive and a lot of what is the left, are doing the work. I mean, of course, we have comrades Luna Oy, American Johnson, everybody who is currently doing the fundraiser, the housing fundraiser. I'm not showing on screen what I need to show, but all the folks that are doing the housing fundraiser right now for BP and a bunch of other people and comrades who are homeless. There are many of those that are at that level of actual radical solidarity, but most of the Western left is not. It's kind of like that person that left a Neofeud review. I mean, I don't want to put myself too much on a pedestal, but it's like, if there was a just world, if the society was healthy, Silver Spook wouldn't be living in a Mazda, living in a car, rationing out peanut butter, and my children malnourished or not as nourished as they should be, while I'm working full time, trying to make a game that is actually cyberpunk, and billionaires making terrible ersatz, astroturf garbage cyberpunk, making billions. And in the same way, in a just world, Danny Haifong would not be begging for money on Patreon to do actual journalism. Chris Hedges also, and I have disagreements with him sometimes, but he said the Iraq war is a war crime, and then he was fired from one of the biggest so-called new journalist, truth-seeking organizations, the New York Times, supposedly. He was fired for being honest, and then he went and worked in prisons. And in a world in which the majority of people, the vast majority, are honest and capable of having rational discourse, civil rational discourse, debate, discussions and democracy. You can't have democracy if everybody lives in lies. If that was the case, people like Chris would be awarded for calling out America's crimes, and America would say, oh my God, Chris, oh my God, Danny, oh my God, Empire Files, you got totally right. You are totally right. We have 800 military bases. We are spending more than the next 70 countries combined on the military. We are the bad guy. Let's try to not be the bad guy, and let's if you had an ostensible democracy, let's work together as a people and a government and remove our military bases. Let's bring that spending down. Let's treat our people with decency and give them healthcare and housing and all the things that we need. If America had a functioning society and they weren't the bad guys, that's what they would do. But they don't do that. They don't do that. What they do is they marginalize anyone that says anything true. And I include myself in that. They marginalize all the actual journalists. They throw Julian Assange into prison for just, hey, guess what? We're doing a war crime. Now you're going to rot for the rest of your life, and we'll make you an example. That's the way that America treats people that say actual truth. It's the way that they treated Voltaire. When Voltaire said, hey, you know what? Actually, China has a meritocracy, and they don't have kings that have divine right that are not qualified to run all of France, you know, or any European country. And you know what happened to Voltaire? He was put into exile, and then he was put in prison. So the Western barbaristic world has never had any truth when it matters, ever, for 2,000 years. I'll go hard on that one. There has never been any intellectual honesty when it matters anywhere in the university, in the left, in the right, or the center. And there never will be, I argue. There will no longer be a West before there is any real truth. And that's why the only socialism that exists in the world is in the global South and the global East. That actually exists. Because whiteness is incapable of ever being honest, and barbarism is incapable of ever being honest. And, you know, and that's a real problem. That's a real problem. That I don't know what that solution looks like. I can't never say anything illegal, but I have to tell you, I'm not seeing it happening in the United States. I'm seeing people going out and not wearing masks. I'm seeing people deny that basic pandemiological reality and just calling for The UK had speeches given outside that are calling for the hanging of doctors and nurses, with thousands of liberal and conservative British citizens calling for the hanging of the doctors and nurses that have been tirelessly working to try to treat and put ventilators and heal people dying from COVID-19. While countless numbers of them refuse to get vaccinated and refuse to have masks. They're calling for the hanging of Dr. Fauci. America, Britain, and the rest of the West will murder itself. That's what I see. I wish I could tell you something different, but they will, as a society, as an economy, spiritually, economically, and physically, they will destroy themselves. I don't see any evidence of anything changing there. I see a lot of people pretending that Bernie being in Biden's cabinet will save them. That will not save you. That will not save you. You will be homeless soon. You will die of COVID-19, and your family will. Nothing will save you from that. Support your indigenous people, support the colonized people, support the people that are capable of calling a spade. For whatever, I don't know, material, historical, cultural, whatever reason, you are not capable, the United States, of doing this. And I'm not talking about Black Widow, I know, I'm sorry. Let's talk about Black Widow more and less specifically. But I mean, part of Black Widow, and I would say kind of the key part to me, is I thought, you know, to Black Widow's credit, I thought that Captain Russia was gonna be like literally Vladimir Putin's brother, working for the Soviet, you know, working for the Russian government, trying to overthrow the UK's elections and America's elections. You know, I thought that he would have been a lot more nefarious. So, you know, I mean, hey, Disney and Marvel and the liberal half of the U.S. empire and the military industrial propaganda complex called Hollywood, good on you for not going full, like off the hook, unhinged, red baiting, anti-communist, anti-Russian propaganda. I mean, good on you for not going full Rachel Maddow. You know what I'm saying? Like blaming like stub toes on Russia. You know, like the Democratic Party or China. You know, I'm waiting for the Marvel movie that just says Captain China. I'm waiting for Captain China. You know, played by fucking some Gusano ass Taiwanese fascists, right? Like Andy Ngo's Chinese brother from another Asian mother that left to be a CIA operative that now plays Captain China and is just playing him as the evil Xi Jinping dictator that's coming to eat America's lunch and steal all the intellectual property. I'm waiting for that. Disney hasn't quite reached that level of full-on American war propaganda. It's just like, let's just like burn ourselves to the ground, right? And so kudos to Disney for not being like that level of terrible. They're a terrible corporation. They exploit their workers. Disneyland is surrounded by 10 cities, even before the pandemic when Disneyland died. Of Mickey Mouse and Mickey Mouse costume wearers and people serving color red dye filled popcorn, and all the other Disneyland service industry workers who lived in 10 cities rationing out cans of tuna fish in homeless 10 cities and in their cars around Disneyland. Disneyland is the saddest place on earth for the people that work there. Kind of like Hawaii, where we have homeless 10 cities for people who serve up fake bastardized versions of a fictional blue Hawaii Elvis impersonation, a tropical Corona commercial white sand beach with pina coladas and hypersexualized Hawaiian and Asians dancing for their trophy wives and the trophy, holding in capitalism husbands. So Hawaii and Disneyland is very similar, and the Disney movies are just as terrible as Disneyland. Just like this Disney Corporation that works directly with. There's a picture with Dwayne The Rock Johnson in the set of a Disney movie with the CEO of Disney and with Saudi Prince that they're taking money from, working with the military-industrial complex. That's who Disney is. Disney is the head of the is very much central to the American imperial project, and that's part of why their movies suck more and more now in the box office. Is because it's very American, And Black Widow isn't as American as, I would say, Captain America, the Infinity Wars, Avengers movies. But it's still, the major problem is that it puts, like, there's a part in the movie, it's the story, I don't want to spoil it too much, is, and again, this is not to throw shade at the quality of the story. This is just what the story is for purposes of highlighting the pro-American, anti-communist propaganda and red baiting that continues perpetually. It begins with a happy family. And I would argue part of the problem of Black Widow is that it argues, its narrative is that happy families are American nuclear white families. Or token black families. But most of the black families are people who deserve to get shot by the police that Falcon and the Winter Soldier defend. Falcon and the Winter Soldier literally save with the U.S. military drone wingsuit and a giant net and a bunch of superhero comic book nonsensical aphysics, ascientific bullshit. Captain America saves the police, the NYPD. I want to be clear about that. So the happy families are law-abiding, disproportionately white Americans in suburbs. That's who's the happy families. That's the story of the beginning of Black Widow. Let me see if I can get some pictures of that. Let me see. Yeah. So this is a happy family. The happy families are this is the Black Widow. See, Black Widow always had something different. Black Widow had like interesting hair color choices, But still, Black Widow was like the rebellious teen listening to Nirvana. Also, I find it very distasteful that Marvel, the giant entertainment multi-billionaire making warmongering complex of America, that Kurt Cobain was very upset with the hyper-capitalization as part of the alternative music scene in the 90s. He showed up wearing flannel, playing a broken-ass guitar for much of his time, and he refused to, him and a lot of other of the alternative scene, they refused to go on MTV because of what they kind of saw as the hyper-commodification of what started out as rock and roll and now went to stadium rock, and that was what was in the heart of alternative. And I say that as somebody who listened to a lot of Smashing Pumpkins. That, like, Bullet Would Biter Fly Wings, despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in the cage. It was about that. It was about the entertainment complex of music and movies and all of the I was gonna say Britney Spears, but Based Britney is about liberating people from that bullshit complex nowadays. But it was, the Backstreet Boys, and it was an abusive situation, right? What Britney Spears is currently talking about is what America's entertainment industry in the music, in the Spice Girls, in the Backstreet Boys, in the NSYNC, and they use Nirvana's "Smells Like Teen Spirit," right? A movie that was very much critiquing a vapid, hyper-consumerist, empty American commodified youth culture, and they're using that as the fucking theme song for this giant, commodified, vapid American popcorn movie, military industrial complex, messageless, irrelevant bullshit movies like every Marvel movie. And I think Kurt is rolling over in his fucking grave like with that. But anyway, I don't really care what Kurt Cobain thinks, but you know, I just had this thought because the theme song in the beginning is Smells Like Teen Spirit. I get why they do that. You're tugging at the heartstrings a bunch of elder millennials to Gen Zs and some Gen Xers who are like, oh yeah, I remember that song. And I'm a Gen Xer that currently programs Department of Defense fucking F-22 Raptor targeting systems and is trying to make war, blowing up Chinese, and I literally shot people in Afghanistan when I was doing my first tour. And I love America. And also, I listened to a lot of Nirvana when I was in high school, playing Shadowrun, tabletop, and then, you know, trying to be a hacker with William Gibson. And I remember it Smells Like Teen Spirit. Oh yeah, I remember that. And now I'm a piece of shit U.S. military shill working for the Pentagon or the surveillance capitalist industries, which is any of the tech companies in America. And I remember that song. I remember that song. I remember Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. I didn't listen to it deeply enough because I'm a piece of shit working for the U.S. military as a Gen Xer. But I remember that song. And anyway, but Kurt Cobain's like, nobody listened to this. Like everything else, nobody wants to hear the truth. They're too busy getting their 56 Stratocaster, right? Still playing Teen Spirit badly in their luxury penthouse apartment that they bought with all the money they made, right? Being a programmer for America's intelligence community, running 10 sock puppet accounts to try to get Luna Oi kicked off of various platforms, or just blasting and prioritizing Breitbart and Fox News and Voice of America in all of the tech companies and trying to, just stop any kind of truth from ever getting into any ear of American. That's what most of the computer nerds in America do, and the whole Western world. And they're mostly pieces of garbage. That's why I made Neofeud, to tell you what a piece of shit you are. So, because I can't bullshit you. But anyway, so Black Widow's emotional opening, it starts out with the happy families are American families, right? You have Rachel Weisz is the mom. The guy who plays Hellboy, I don't forget his name, is Dave Harbour, is the happy dad, right? With his American 90s haircut. He looks like a taller Kiefer Sutherland with a Leonardo DiCaprio 90s haircut, right? He's like that little heart-shaped, Irish. I was in Titanic, kid. I don't know what that 90s thing was. I'm like a teen bop cover magazine haircut thing. But anyways, Rachel Weisz, happy mommy, happy daddy, right? Happy suburb. We're all just one happy family. Let me see if I can find this. And that's kind of that's the thrust of. And there's a scene later in the movie where you have Black Widow as grown-ups, Black Widow, sister, mommy, daddy, right? Pretending to have happy family, but now they're in Russia, where Russia is Soviet, it's communist, it's bad, there's prisons, there's evil. Oh, I'm so proud of you girls. You have your hit list is filled with blood, because Russians, all we do is we make lots of people kill each other and overthrow democracies, right? We overthrow democracies, we run world events, we manipulate America's election like Rachel Maddow told us. Oh, Black Widow, you hacked America's election with the Russian hackers and Bellingcat, Bellingcats and at the Atlantic Council's people that they're constantly talking about. Oh, the Russian hacker, that's why Bernie Sanders got there far. Oh, Russian hacker, that's why Donald Trump won. Oh, the Russian hacker, that's why the UK is falling apart. And the Russian Reuters was actually a UK-based anti-communist in the Soviet Union propaganda machine, and it still is. You steal a Russian Reuters, false flag operative. Oh, my daughter's, but the story is Russians killers, Russians bad. And the only good Russians are the Russians that try to be Americans. Black Widow is good because Black Widow denies her despotic, evil world in all the Russians and manipulating world events. Like, this is the offload again. Blaming your wife, blaming your employees for your problems as a boss, blaming the communist countries for things that you do. In the movie, a very powerful Russian is manipulating democracies with one pull of a string, and all of my evil Black Widows, who are all brainwashed, right? Remember, Yellow Peril, Red Scare, brainwashing. It's a Chinese word that was Chinese describing on the railroads. All these Americans listening to a snake oil salesman selling fictional versions of their medicinal remedies, right? And then watching all these Americans buy it. Watching Jehovah's Witness and Mormon people start entire religions based on a bunch of navel belly button fucking pipe dream pot smoke that they did, and then a bunch of thousands of people following them. All the Chinese and Russians, all those communists are brainwashed. They cannot have independent agency. So as an Asian, I have my Asian and Native Hawaiian, Asian Pacific Islander, I'm a brainwashed. I'm just a CCP show, obviously. So don't listen to anything I'm saying. I can't possibly think for myself. Unlike all the people who listen to literal neo-Nazi Adrian Zen's Left, Right, and Center in the West about Uyghur genocide, right? That was a fake story that even the U.S. Ruling class in Biden's administration and his own attorney general could not get enough evidence for. No. It's the Chinese and the Russians. Those are the people that are brainwashed with very rich Russian and Xi Jinping oligarchs who pull the strings, right? Literally, their brains are programmed at the neurological level. And all the Russian scientists do, like Richard Weiss, is figure out ways to program their own children and stolen girls to be brainwashed operatives to overthrow the world. Who's overthrown the world's democracy? Let's just look at some let's look at some actual truth that America and the West can never be honest about, right? Who is overthrowing actual democracies in the world? I mean, is it who overthrow more democracies? Russia, China, or America? Who's doing coups around the world? Evo Morales. Hey, Evo, who's doing more coups around the world? Hey, Cuba. Who's currently embargoing you to the tune of $130 billion over the last several decades and not stopping and increasing sanctions under Biden? And who's giving you $10 billion of gifts in free forgiven loans to build infrastructure, gifts to build telecommunications? Oh, that's right. It's China that's giving you free money. It's the Soviet Union that supported you as a communist country that has better healthcare, better health outcomes, 4 times less malnutrition deaths in America today, despite America's embargoes. And who has been destroying and crushing and trying to annihilate that country and taking all their fascist and right-wing clowns like Marco Rubio and the half of the Republican Party that are fucking Cuban anti-communist gusanos? Who's been doing all of the democracy overthrowing? Is it Russia? Is it China? Or is it you, Captain America? Who was in U.S. military and CIA interventions across the planet, bombing, invading, overthrowing countries, propping it digitally with all of the Gen X hackers that are STEM Marvel movie lovers, sitting in a fucking naval base or on a USS war criminal aircraft carrier, programming the drone that's going to shoot hypersonic missiles that don't work because you don't have any semiconductors at Chinese ships and start nuclear war like an idiot. You're going to fail because all your semiconductors and all your warheads are going to fail. Because you can't get any because your 7nm chips are not being constructed in Taiwan anymore because you're a fucking useless piece of neoliberal, neo-feudal trash that can only print out quantitative easing infinity free money. And yet system doesn't work anymore because there's been $38 billion worth of currency swaps between Argentina and China and $400 billion plus between Iran and China. And Russia and China have 2 of the biggest non-US dollar hegemony, which is the real weapon of maintenance of global hegemony. And you will fail, but let's just entertain America and pretend like they can still manage the world affairs. But who has actually done the coups, right? But this part of the story of Black Widow is that Russia is the one overthrowing all the democracies. Russia is the one invading. Russia is the one. There's a Russian. I'm very rude and Russian. I'm a Gusano Russian, or I'm just a British guy acting very scary, despotic Russian, and my job is to make wars around the world. He literally says, I make and break wars around the world. I make despots and tyrants. Who installed the Evo Morales deposition and replacement with the Agnes literal fascist goose-stepping Nazi back like Argentina de facto fucking Hitler clown, literal goose-stepping Nazis who slaughtered dozens of indigenous people in the street, not with pepper gas and rubber bullets, but with full metal jacket rounds. Who installed it? For Elon, we will coup whoever we want, Musk. Who was it? A Russian sitting in a floating Soviet version of the Avengers ascientific levitating aircraft carrier, in a little floating palace in the sky, hiding, doing my evil Russian bidding from the fucking sky, right? Like some kind of
Red World Cold War octopus, cinematic, like multi-$100 million CGI Russian red octopus tentacling the world's evils, right? Who is that? Is it the Russian doing the coups, or is it you doing the coup, Captain America? Who's doing the coups? Who's doing the war starting? Who's doing the 800 military bases? How many Russian? There's basically none. As Evil correctly pointed out, there's none where the Russians weren't invited in to get U.S. military out and military bases out. Who is doing that? No, America and its movies, including Black Widow, can and never will be honest. They never can. Because to be honest would have Captain America chopping off the head of a anarchist or a socialist, a Black Lives Matter activist, which are the flag smashers in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, taking his shield, chopping off the head of a young black or brown and actually diverse young leftist trying to get housing and healthcare, which is what the bad guys in Falcon and Winter Soldier are trying to get healthcare and housing and stop the border, the ridiculous borders and the Fortress Europe and Fortress America, right? Captain America chops off the head of a young leftist and then gets a job with a Seinfeld star washed up Seinfeld star from the 90s, who comes back in Black Widow, by the way. Let me say that again. The Captain America that chops the head off of a leftist and gets blood all over his shield is a good guy by the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's acceptable. That was an acceptable thing to do, is to kill your own leftist children. So America, Marvel, Disney, the entire Western world, the English and French and Spanish speaking world can and never will accept this. They cannot accept this truth. They can only make terrible fucking movies about how they're the good guys, They're the good guys. And, Black Widow's very entertaining, but that's the lie. That's the lie. And the only happy families are the American families. And the only good Russians are the ones that stop being Russian. Because to be Russian, to be Chinese, to be red, to be communist is to be evil. It is to do the abuse of children. America, Holly brought this up. America is accusing right now, China of abusing, where did I put that one? I forgot what it was, but America is accusing China of being abusive to its Olympians. Where is it? I think I shared it somewhere over here. Yeah. When America recruits and trains, what the fuck is it? When America recruits and trains its athletes to win gold medals, we're being all we can be. When China does it, they're assembly line drones operated by big despotic government to destroy the poor US. This is the New York Times. China's sports assembly line is designed. So again, this is part of the despotic brainwashed machine that all Russian, Chinese, communist, anything left of Joseph Biden, any country that is doing Vietnamese, you're all a bunch of brainwashed insectile drones to be annihilated by the Starship Troopers. That's a very American movie. Heinlein did America's value preservation properly as a fascist country that annihilates anything communist and anything collectivist for whiteness and greatness of white America, which is Hitler is doing that till he went a little off the script. Hitler would have been Captain America if the Nazis won. Let's be really clear on that. China's sports assembly line is designed for one purpose: churning out Olympic gold medals. The state scouts tens of thousands of children for government-run training, funneling many into less prominent sports that Beijing hopes to dominate. When China is, encouraging young people to be athletes, training their weightlifters and shot putters and swimmers and figure skaters, they are deceptively, dangerously, despotically assembly line. Who has the assembly line education system in America? Who is the people who is abusing their children, right? The young people, right? The state scouts tens of thousands of children for government run evil, right? Government evil, right? Because anytime there's a evil despotic state, the Western left, center, and right all gotta come together in imperialist imperialist solidarity to overthrow it. The states cost tens of thousands of children for government-run training. That America has capitalists. Elon Musk and good people like Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos run training facilities in America, and so that's good. That's good because it's a rich, white, abusive, planet-destroying clown who is abusing, making 2.5 million times more than his workers, who is abusing the people. But when a government runs a thing, that's evil, particularly if it's a non-white government. Because to be a non-white government is to be despotic. Let's be really clear on that. America never saw a non-white government unless it was a gusano that it didn't fucking hate. Funneling many into less prominent sports. Who is actually doing the abuse, right? Simone Biles, as Holly pointed out correctly, was someone who blew the whistle on the rampant abuse by one doctor alone of dozens upon dozens of young women, right? And in the Olympics. Who is the one abusing their children? Who is the one who has more children in poverty? Who has the one that allows children to be in cages at the border in concentration camps? Who is the one whose children are being diseducated and brain poisoned in the public schools? America has a 54% of the population that is below a junior high level of reading. Who is the one abusing their children? Who is the one that's starving children? Vietnam has 40 times less malnutrition deaths than the United States, and many of the malnutrition deaths are children. Who is abusing the children? Is it the Chinese? Is it the Vietnamese? Is it the socialist countries, or is it America? Again, who is doing it? Who is doing the thing? America can never be honest about the Olympics or anything else. And so, in Black Widow, back to Black Widow, it's the Russians that are doing all the abuse. It's the despotic communist countries that are doing all the or the ones that, however communist or not communist was. It's the countries that don't abide by American capitalist hegemony that are doing all the evil things. They're brainwashing the kids. They're like having kids murder other people. They're killing young women. They're slaughtering them. Their rulers are overthrowing democracies. They start the wars. They undo the democracies. They make the tyrants and the dictators and the bloody regimes. Not America. America don't do that. Right? And Black Widow, that's the part of Black Widow where it really, that's where the military and the U.S. capitalist ruling class, you can do whatever you fun things you want. Make a little commentary about how it's kind of ridiculous that women always got to do this sexy pose in comic book movies and comic books. You can have more. It is good that there is lots of female cast in it. That is good. I'm gonna chalk more of that up to Scarlett Johansson's clout in this situation than anything else. But you're gonna make America look good. American pie is still tasty, not rotten. You're gonna make us look good. You're gonna make Russia look bad. Okay? You're gonna be cinematic Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, liberal, very witty. Again, Rachel Maddow, very witty, very smart, very funny. But you're gonna do American imperial propaganda. That's what you're gonna do, and that's the part of Black Widow. So it's like this is the same shit. Now I was expecting the Red Guardian, basically Captain Russia. He even talks about it like, the Captain Russia guy, Red Guardian. He's like, when he gets out of prison, he gets broken out of prison at one point, and he's like talking to the other characters and like, hey, so did Captain America, did he ever say anything about me? Because Black Widow works for Captain America, right? So did he ever say anything about me? Like, did he think, oh, he was a worthy foe? Captain Russia was did Captain America say that Captain Russia was a worthy foe? That he was a great adversary? I'm like the heel, and he's like talking about this, and so I actually thought that he would be a lot less. I thought that the Captain Russia would be a lot more unlikable. So that's at least, it's not as terrible as it could be. But I mean, it doesn't, but he's also, it's also kind of terrible because while the Red Guardian, Captain Russia is kind of likable, the things that are likable about him are he rebels against his evil, despotic Russian rulers. I'm not to say that there's no bad people there, but I mean, it's very much like that's where the evil comes from in the world, is the Soviet Union, the Russians, the Chinese. right? And what's good about Black Widow, what's good about Red Guardian, what's good about Rachel Weisz's scientist, and what's good about the sister is their Americanness is what makes them wholesome, right? They're like, there's a point where they go like, how did you keep your heart? Because I mean, I'm just a Russian. I have no heart. How did you keep your independence, right? How did you think for yourself, right? And that's part of the whole thing about Black Widow. It's like, even as a young one, it's like, Black Widow is the one that leaves and defects and becomes an American warrior as a part of the Avengers. Again, as a representative, Black Widow, as a representative of the United States, as the Avengers are. They are the highest grossing movies of anything America's ever made. Infinity War 2, Iron Man 3. And Black Widow is a Russian defector who now represents America with Captain America, right? And so that's always this kind of subtle thing that's happening below the surface. And what makes Black Widow finally sympathetic, right? Kind of going back to, like if you think about movies like, the Chronicles of Riddick, right? That I was talking about earlier. Shit, I just lost that. Where did I lose that to? You think about what makes like in Chronicles, what makes this character, what makes the Black Muslim against a coexistent Black Muslim in Riddick against an invading Roman armored American gun coated, a Western white actual imperialist, the neocon led in that time, George W. Bush, a Western American led army invading a Black Muslim country. I don't know, kind of like Palestine before U.S. intervention, when they had existence, more peaceful coexistence between Palestinian, Jew, and Christian. And then America got involved, and that was all destroyed, and people died. And settler colonialism had, and then genocide done to the Palestinians, right? And so what makes the difference, is where the sympathy is in the film, right? And in Riddick, it's with the people, they're America's victims. In the Avengers movies, the sympathy is not there. The sympathy is with the Americans, right? It's a very important point that is it's easy to miss. In Black Widow, the sympathy is with those Russians who have become Americans, right? It's the sympathy is with the Black Widow who rebelled early and left Russia early, and then with the Red Guardian and with the Weiss, the evil Russian scientist who finally defect, right, with the Black Widow. So the sympathy is with whiteness. The sympathy is with Americanness. The sympathy is with, look how terribly this enemy of the United States, historically in the Cold War, look at how terribly this Cold War rival to the United States treated you. And now finally, for all the characters, it's about, oh my God, you're right. America is better than Russia. I quit Russia. I defect. It's like, oh my God, the communist Vietnam is worse than Saigon and American Vietnam. I quit, and I'm going, and I'm Andy No, and now I work for America, right? As a fascist, right? Oh my goodness, communist Cuba that has universal health care, better housing rates, and 4 times less malnutrition deaths. Communist Cuba is worse. And they fly to Cuba in Black Widow. So Russia and Cuba are tied together, right? Cuba is evil because Russia is evil. It's a landing pad for Russia. There's no the Cubans are not subhumanized there. And Cuba is just it's a little island of Russia, like Hawaii is an island of America. We're a sovereign country, but this is again projection, right? Islands are just little stomping grounds for us to, abuse the women for sexual needs of our military, exploit the natural resources, and as refueling bases for all of our military escapades. That's not actually how the Soviet Union. Ask evil about how they treat them. It's different. Ask Venezuela. Syria as well. They are invited in, and they're like, "Would you like help? We'll help you. We'll help you." Why do you need help? Oh, because America is invading you. But again, that's the same thing. Blame your wife, your employee, or the other socialist country or the non-white country for the thing that project onto them the crime that you've done. Right? And they fly to Cuba, and Cuba is evil because it's part of Russia. And in Cuba, And the story is, oh, I understand. I'm Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz's parents. Oh, I understand. You know, I want to be in America. I am Marco Rubio. I understand. Cuba and socialism and communism, those are terrible and evil, and they're brainwashed, and all the people are suffering and dying. And then I left to go be a Floridian Republican, and now I'm a good American, like Marco Rubio, right? Black Widow is a very Marco Rubio story. I think he would love it. You'd love that part where Cuba is working with evil Russia, and America is the salvation. The goal is to leave Russia and be a Kamagusano and go work for CNN, MSNBC, or Fox, or the U.S. military, right? Leave your shit. Leave your country that's actually doing better for the masses of the people in Vietnam, in China, in Cuba, or wherever. You know, leave your country. Leave your country. Go to America and be a capitalist. The American pie is not rotten, right? That is the meta story to me, you know. Which is, again, that's not the meta story of Riddick. No. The places that are invading, that's not the story of Fast 9. The story of Fast 9 is spoiled rich pricks that are disproportionately white Americans that with Cypher working for the military, and white Euro oligarchs, the descendants of Montesquieu, who put Voltaire in chains and in pillory for saying that Western illusory Christian historiography, feudalism at that time, under a Catholic papacy and the Holy Roman Empire, capitalism, and then racialized capitalism, colonialism, and slavery later. And Fast and Furious and the Montesquieu, and in Fast and Furious 9, those Euro barons like Montesquieu are the bad guys, as they still are. As the Nazis, who 70% of Germany was Nazi after America, after World War II. They put them in power. And a lot of Europe still has a lot of very wealthy, very capitalist, even in Sweden and Norway. Despite, they're closer to Russia. It's part of the reason why Germany has a universal education and they have the more generous healthcare and education programs, is because half of the country had full universal healthcare and was part of the communist side. It was the East Germany. They had vision and dental, and not a lot of Germans. Ask Dotsline what he thinks about not having vision and dental. East Germany had vision and dental. Now Germany has, but part of the reason why a lot of those countries right there have a lot of a better. You know, they talk about all the Scandinavian models and all the Eastern Euro models. Less so the British model, right? You know, hear Richard Wolff talking about the British model. 160,000 deaths by austerity in Britain, hyper unequal, huge COVID deaths as well. You don't hear Richard Wolff talking about the British model too much. What is he talking about? He's talking about the models that are closer to, I would argue the reason why those countries have a lot more socialism in them is because they're closer to the giant communist country that fought tens of millions of soldiers worth and the vast majority against the Western capitalist and fascist world, and America tried to rebrand itself as not part of that when it was. Ford sued the United States for billions of dollars worth of America military destroyed Nazi tank factories, Nazi warplane factories, and Nazi bullet churning factories. And Mr. Capitalist Fascist Ford won those lawsuits, I would add. America installs fascism around, and it is still a fascist shithole. Fascism is, in the Western illusory world, fascism is when white people do to other white people what they always do to people of color and communists, which is slaughter them and pretend like nothing happened and subhumanize them. Anyways, Fast 9 is not the story of goodness is American apple pie, happy family, suburb, listening to Nirvana sometimes, and then growing up and working for the US military or Facebook. Fast 9 is a story of international solidarity. In the United States, you have Asians, you have Hispanics in and outside of America. You have black people in and outside of America, black British, black from South and Central America. You have Korean, Asian, you have people from all around the world, and the people going around the world. And who is disproportionately the bad person? The very white, very American, and very Euro people with lots of fucking money. Spoiled, rich pricks who run the world. That's a line. Is that anywhere to be found in any Avengers? You know, is that anywhere to be found in any event? No. Spoiled rich pricks save the world in Avengers. Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man is a spoiled rich prick who works with the US military surveillance capitalist in Silicon Valley, as a tech Malibu magnate with a giant 75 golden toileted mansion, and all of his fucking nerd toys, and probably has, you know, a gold-plated Goku, a Nirvana poster on one wall. He literally wears Metallica t-shirts in some of his movies, and a bunch of like life-size Millennium Falcons. Billionaire philanthropist, arms dealer, playboy, spoiled rich pricks. He calls himself a billionaire philanthropist, arms dealer, playboy. He calls himself a spoiled rich prick, and he snaps his fingers and destroys, you know, space communism. I'm sorry, Thanos, which is coded as communist because the Chinese one-child policy was basically who Thanos was. Against the quiverful right-wing America, making many white babies, and also abusing other wives and families under right-wing conservative neocon bullshit. But anyways, Captain America and spoiled rich pricks are the good guys. The U.S. military is the good guys. You're not the good guys. You're not. That's why Fast 9 is doing better, because most of the world, and again, going back to that story, most of the world is not American. Where the fuck is my? I know I keep losing all of my links, but anyway. Most of the world is not American. Most of the world is not white. 8 out of 9 not white. Most of the world does not speak English. Most of the world does not speak English or Spanish. Actually, if you add up all the Asian languages, is more than everything else. Most of the world actually is black, brown, Muslim, Asian, Pacific Islander, indigenous of some sort. And that's what this reflects. The difference was for the last 2 to 500 years, century of humiliation for China. It's really not a century of humiliation for China, centuries of humiliation for Africa and all the Africans in the slave ships, centuries of humiliation for the Pacific, centuries of humiliation for the indigenous people of North and South America. It was a humiliation for all of the global South and all of the non-white and non-Western, non-barbarous world. But now is the end of that time, and that's why Fast 9 is doing better. And Black Widow is half of it. And the best movie is a Chinese movie, you know, is because Black Widow is still telling the American white capitalist pro-military story. Pro tip: I know that Disney, as the fucking champion of America, capitalism, and whiteness, won't listen. But pro tip: maybe be honest about the non-white and non-capitalist countries. Try to not be really propagandistic against it. Just give it a shot. You might make more money, you know. But this is what they chose to do. You know what they did? You know what Black Widow did? You know what? Not what Scarlett did, right? And let's be clear. Vin Diesel thanked China personally. John Cena said, there was a press conference where John Cena said, the country of Taiwan, and then he went back. He made a video specifically, said, I apologize to the people of China. Taiwan is a part of China. It is not a sovereign country. Vin Diesel, and not just China. Thank you, China. Thank you, Argentina. Thank you, Uganda. Thank you, the Middle Eastern countries. Thank you, all of the world's countries. They made the whole crew. They did a big thing, and they had a big international release. They had a big release in China. Vin Diesel went to China. You know, they went to Africa. They went all around the world. African countries. They went all around, and they did a big international release. And they said thank you. What did Disney and Hollywood and Black Widow do? What are they doing? China's fault. It's like China's fault that oh my God, China is abusing. That's why they're winning the gold. Don't be a sore loser. But again, that's blaming everything on your wife or your employee or your exploited slave or your non-white communist or socialist country, right? Stop blaming China for the failure of your shitty rollout and your shitty script. The acting is good. It's a funny movie. It's very entertaining. I'm not even gonna say don't see it. I'm just gonna say don't blame China because you are imperialist, racist, and not honest about global geopolitics. In a world in which you, the white capitalist world, don't run the world, you're a minority, and you don't have the majority of the box office sales. So Vin is just doing what he's always done, which is be an internationalist, which is not being American, which is tell the truth, you know. Vin is doing what he's always done, which is tell the truth about what America was doing in the Middle East, which is killing a bunch of peaceful people that didn't deserve to die for the benefit of some fucking warmongering capitalist, right? Vin is doing what he's always done with Fast 9, you know? Hollywood is doing what Zack Snyder did, which is glorify Western white hyper-militarized society in the movie 300, fighting for freedom despite having a fascist monoculture of soldiers and wives as fundamentally virtuous and good versus a gender-fluid, non-white Middle Eastern people as fundamental evil and corrupting. I use Zack Snyder as a juxtaposition to the two different meta-narratives. And that's why they're doing better, you know? That's why where the fuck is it? I keep losing. That's why Fast is doing twice as good as Black Widow. You could argue which one has better special effects. You could argue which one has better acting. The reason why you're not doing as good is because the socialist, global south, anti-imperialist, non-white world is coming through the centuries of humiliation. The other 7 billion people of Earth are coming through, and they don't want to put up with your bullshit abuse anymore. They don't want to put up with your bullshit abuse economically, with your sanctions, your embargoes, with your overthrowing of their country. Ask Luna Oy about all of the sanctions, embargoes, and suffering. She's literally starved because of American sanctions and had to ration out cups of rice per day. And Luna is done with that. Vietnam is done with that. China's done with that. Cuba's done with that. Venezuela's done with that. Bolivia's done with that. All of Africa is done with that. Namibia is saying, fuck you, Germany. No, I'm not taking your apology. Build some concrete infrastructure. France, I don't believe your apology. Like the white Christian man apologizing to his wife for beating her, for neglecting her, and then turning around the next day, going to church like a Christian illusory historiographer and going, I'm so sorry, thinking that's enough, no equity, and then going back and beating the wife, lying to the wife, leaving the wife, cheating on the wife the next day. You can't treat Rwanda, Namibia like a beaten Stepford housewife anymore. You can't treat the global south, you can't treat Hawaii very soon like your little flower girl to your little Gagan-esque place of tropical sexual exploitation and, you know, white sand beach and blue settler colonial, Disneyland tourist resort, you know, oppression. You can't just use us for your personal vacation spot and Westworld. You can't use Vietnam for your own little colonial pillaging and rubber factory. They have their own things they're doing now. You can't use China as your personal little tea and silk and copper and later cheap labor pillaging factory. They have figured out how to undo you, and they are helping the rest of the world. You can't do that. You can't make shitty movies that lie about the world, like Avengers and Black Widow as the latest rendition. You can't make shitty movies that tell that you or Captain America are saving it. You can't do that anymore. You can't. You will fail. Stop making shitty movies. This is my ultimatum to the Hollywood and Disney, and all of the industrial complex and all of the news media and every university, private and public and charter school teacher, in particularly in history, social studies, science, anthropology, sociology, biology, and everything else. This is my ultimatum. Start telling the truth. Come clean about who you are. Tell the truth about who you are. Stop lying about who you are. You will not get away with it anymore. You will not get away with it. Start making fucking honest movies like Vin Diesel, please, and Boots Riley, or you will continue to fail. Your movies will suck. Nobody's gonna watch them, and also the world's gonna burn because you're gonna keep convincing people to join the U.S. military. Stop recruiting for the U.S. military. The U.S. military needs to have like a $50 million budget, if anything. The U.S. military needs to go on detox from itself. For maybe the next 10 years, don't have a military. Stop recruiting for the U.S. military by drumming up war propaganda. I know that the United States will not follow that, and it includes much of the Western left. They will continue to be the CIA operatives that they always have been for a long period of time and just repeat whatever genocide story or whatever, you know, imperialist nonsense, and then they'll probably delete the stream. That's fine. It's not like I haven't been shadow banned for saying all this kind of shit before. Talking about colonialism, all this other kind of stuff. China doesn't want war. Russia doesn't want war. They don't want to start. Hawaiians don't want that. Cuba doesn't want that. Vietnam doesn't want that. South Central America, Africa, they don't want global warfare. They don't want economic warfare. They don't want a trade war. They don't want a tariff war. They didn't start. Donald Trump, Biden continuing it, started that. They didn't want that. We would all love to cooperate. The older indigenous peoples and cultures of Earth would love to cooperate with Americans and Europeans and Canadians and New Zealanders and those white young races. We would love to cooperate, but you must try to you have to go through the growing up process, which is going to be very hard, because part of that is being honest and actually doing the work, which is not just saying I'm sorry. It's like landing the fuck back in America. It's called reconciliation. It's called working in equity. It means concrete building of infrastructure and giving up of your and you're gonna have to go through that process. It will take decades, if not centuries, I think. And I say this as somebody who comes raised to be white and capitalist. I went to an Emperor Palpatine training facility. It's called an Ivy League feeder school that costs $20,000 a year to go today. And I say this as somebody who is trying to go through that process. Try to start being honest with yourself as quickly as possible, because your movies are going to get less well seen. Your country is going to fall into flames. Millions will suffer. And if you go down the worst route, you will cause millions of deaths with an attempted hot war with a nuclear superpower. Please don't do that. Please don't do it. Please stop making shitty movies about how evil brainwashed masses in Russia and China are going to come and take all of your jobs and take all of your technology, and they're spreading COVID-19 and the Wuhan bat-eating, yellow peril, Asian racism bullshit narrative. Please stop. Please stop. Don't spread any more Adrian Zen stories, please. Don't do that. They're still trying to do that. Please stop doing that. Because, you know, at the end of the day, that's the future. It's the future of a multipolar world is coming whether you want it or not, you know? And I say this as somebody who, like, again, most of my nostalgia is caught up in movies like The Avengers. Most of my nostalgia is Mortal Kombat. It is the first version of She-Ra that had the weird hypersexualized titties. It is, you know, He-Man, and it is Arnold, and it is the Star Wars with lots of white guys. It is all of that. It is, I was born and raised in that culture. It is StarCraft, colonialism simulator, where you get, you know, battle cruisers and tank Star Destroyers / destroyers, aircraft carriers. I'm sorry, you know, M1 Abrams American tanks. I'm sorry, siege tanks and Marines killing indigenous things on a planet coded as insects like the Zerg. A hive mind brainwash masses to take all their resources, minerals and Vespene gas, hydrocarbon and coal, steel, coltan, copper, and lithium in Earth. Make more machines of war and take over the next place, right? I understand, because I've been through the Stormtrooper training facility called all of public, private, charter, entertainment, and news, and all information and university education. I know what it is. That's why I talk about it, is because I know what it is to be a white capitalist future Palpatine. There was a point where I almost became a Goldman Sachs high-frequency trading algorithm programmer, and I said, that's disgusting and horrible, and I don't want to do that. And 08, 09 happened, and that helped to be like, what the fuck is wrong with this country? Why am I starving working full-time as a social worker and a STEM teacher? But I still know what it is. I can never not be that person who was trained to be a white capitalist, despite having my skin look like a thing that police shoot. 6 times more per capita in Hawaii of Pacific Islanders and Asians and black shot than white. But I cannot undo that. I can only turn it against itself. And so anyways, so you know, but I do say you, but if you are somebody who still denies that that's the case, then I do mean you over there, you know? Anyway, so, you know, and finally, you know, I think that Black Widow is not a bad movie. So again, I just want to say, not a bad movie. Everything about it is funny. The acting is fine. The script is fine. It like makes sense. The plot makes sense. I mean, the meta story about global politics don't make no sense, obviously, but internally it's consistent. The explosions are very explosive. The spectacle is very spectacular. The levitating airships and, you know, U.S. military stealth aircraft are very stealthy and very aircrafty. And they're, you know, I mean, it's the drama and the family drama. It's entertaining, you know. It is. I like the David Harbour and the Rachel Weisz. The way that they play out the family. That was my point. The way that they play out the family is very entertaining. It's not. I'm not gonna pretend like that's not the case. That would be bullshit. Where is it? The family. Black Widow. Yeah, there's a scene. Black Widow. You know, yeah, Black Widow as a child. There's a scene where, you know, they're like all having their family dinner. They're having Christmas and Thanksgiving, and you know, they're having like a little family American dinner, and it's very well acted. You know, the beats are very well played. You know, and you get the sense that these are people that tried to have a family, but it was a false family, right? Because they were Russian spies in America, right? And they stole technology and things from America and completed their mission, right? They got the chips and they got the cards and they got everything. Trying to find that family shot. I don't know if I can find it. Yeah, you know, and they're all at their family. They're all having their kitchen table family dinner, you know, in this scene. And you know, and it's this one. Yeah, this is a good one. This is a good one. You know, this really encapsulates what I'm talking about. This is, you know, and it's well played, you know, and they're all trying to pretend like we can go back to that fake version of family that we had as Americans, eating American apple pie at the dinner table, having some turkey and roast beef, and having potatoes and fries that mom cooked. You know, this has a lot in common with another Marvel movie, WandaVision, where it's about. Remember, I'm a red Iron Curtain, on the wrong side of the Iron Curtain, Soviet sufferer, and it's not because of America. It's, you know, we're gonna leave out what America's done. It's just like, it was just so hard there. She doesn't like Tony Stark in particular. There's a little bit of that, but it doesn't really go into it. You know, it doesn't really go into it. But you know, being a happy suburban America, I want to bring that up. I do want to bring that up because it's very important. You know, like these are very good, very well told stories, which makes them incredibly good propaganda because they tug your heartstrings, because they get into your Nick at Night, you know, I Dream of Jeannie, black and white cartoon commercial propaganda. They get into mine, right? Oh, remember Boy Meets World, and it has the whole alternative music 90s commercial, right? These Marvel movies are incredibly good at digging into your American consent manufacturing in the entertainment form. They dig into the deepest, closest friends you have with your fictional characters in American television, American movies. They're very good stories, you know? I probably shouldn't say, I shouldn't say that because it's gonna make people wanna see these. So they're very good stories in that way. You know, it's all like, oh yeah, and it's like, it's playing on all these TV tropes of the housewife and I Leave It to Beaver, and then it jumps forward into, you know, that 70s show, the literal 70s show. And but what is it about? You know, it's similar to Black Widow in that WandaVision is about hearkening back to that happy it's MAGA. It's blue Disney Cinematic Universe MAGA, right? Let's go back to when America was great. You know, let's go back to our suburbs. That was the happy time. We were great in our suburbs, and let's ignore what's right. There's no movie that really addresses what is really happening in America. You know what it is. Let's go back to that great time. Let's go back to those commercials. And what's similar to actually the Black Widow and to Wanda is they're both Eastern European. They're like Russian or somewhere near Russia, right? In what was within the communist circle of the world, who have left that and come to the great, good America. I would argue Stranger Things has the same kind of aspects to it. It's very much movies that are about this great time in the 80s America, because America is a shithole. Look out the window, you know? To me, that's what I liked about Cyberpunk. It was about looking at the bullshit of Star Wars with, you know, white tunicked, white blue-eyed people saving the world in America and capitalism and whiteness against evil Soviet-coded communism destroying the world, right? And Cyberpunk was about going, hey, actually America's a shithole in the 80s. Hey, I'm William Gibson, fucking begging for change, you know, fucking stitching together my sleeveless jean jacket and my shoes because I can't afford real new shoes, with all these other punks in New York City and these ghetto trying to make some money, and it's Reagan Thatchernomics, and this sucks. And actually America and the Western world isn't the city on the hill that it's fiction, it's TV shows, and it's science fictional movies like Star Wars perpetuates itself to be. That's what Cyberpunk was, right? It was about trying to say a little truth in the empire of bullshit. And then it was, co-opted and turned into ways to sell, fucking fake versions of what the 80s were to now rich hipsters, which, I mean, sadly, people who wrote cyberpunk books now are millionaires with good tenure at American universities, working for the military, working for Facebook, working for giant corporations, and not being any very punk anymore. And that's who buys Cyberpunk 2077 mostly. It's a bunch of, it's not punk anymore. It's not saying shit. It's making billionaires while pretending, while aping the aesthetics of cyberpunk, and and WandaVision, like all the Marvel movies, is about not addressing that. It is the ivory tower. It is the American white capitalist little matrix of disinformation. WandaVision has people living inside of a manufactured through superhero ability matrix of the Truman Show, but that is America. It lives in a Truman Show of its own lies. Like, you're great. You're not great. I already threw all the statistics out in health, education, housing. Bringing freedom into democracy, you bring death, destruction, and ecological annihilation. You're not great. So that's the main difference, and that's what ties that in Black Widow. Black Widow is somebody who is like, oh, I've left the brainwashing of communist countries and I've come to the good capitalist American country. No, it's the opposite. You have left. The honest story would be, I'm a Gusano who came to America to lie to other people about how great America is and make a lot of money and say bad things about my country. That's the Gusano Cubans, Gusano Venezuelans. That's Marco Rubio. That's Andy Ngo, right? That's all the model minority Chinese that are working for the intelligence agencies, and the Falun Gong and the Epoch Times, right? That would be the honest story would be a Black Widow leaving Cuba, coming to America, and being a female Marco Rubio. That would be the honest story of the Black Widow. But that's not a story that Disney can tell. That's not a story that America can hear. They can't hear that story. The honest story would be, the honest Black Widow would be a female Andy Ngo. Let me leave my country and then work for America's ruling classes in the right wing by hurting leftists and doxing them. That would be an honest Black Widow. I'm going to defect from my communist country and be horrible. But that's not a story that America can tell. Just like an honest Wanda would be like, I'm going to defect from my country and be Donald Trump's or some trophy wife and have a great career. Like, I have an aunt. I'm going to defect from my Hawaiian and trying to be a change maker, and I'm going to go marry I'm going to be the exotic Asian wife for a U.S. military and fossil fuel oligarch's son, and then have 35 golden toilets in my giant mansion that I got, doing makeup for Ann Curry. One of my aunts literally is a Gusano who turned white and did makeup for Ann Curry against the Hawaiian people. That's a Black Widow, and that's the WandaVision story. The true story will be the story of becoming a sellout and then backing global fascism and starting wars and backing wars and trying to get your country overthrown. That's doing for the people. That would be the true Black. But that's not the story that America never tell that story. America, and so, anyway, but, I say this, I don't say this to be anti, because, Americans are just terrible and they often, I'm just, I want people to I want there to be better health, education, housing, and basic needs for all people in America and Canada and all these other places. That can't happen until they start facing reality, and so anyways, I think I've gone on that for a long time. I've gone on at length, but back to that kind of family. I just want to finish up on that family thing. So, Vin Diesel's family, the family, is an international family, a multipolar international family of working class people of color, fighting spoiled, rich, disproportionately white American and Euro pricks, and that's why it does better. The Black Widow family is. Where the fuck is it? The Black Widow and Marvel's family is an entertaining family. It is an interesting family. It is a very believable in terms of character development story. But a Black Widow's family is a story of people that America doesn't like and historically Cold War communist non-Western countries, coming to America, and then going back, being evil, and then finding family in their Americanness. You know? And that is a toxic version of family. That is a white-centric, that is an American imperialist-centric, and that is a nonsensical, toxic, racist, capitalist, pro-imperialist version of family. And that's why that movie failed. Not because they're a bad family, but that's not the family that we need. The family that we need is real family, right? The truth is, if you go and you look in the average white family in America, you're going to find more sexism. You're going to find more oppression of the children and the wives. You know, that's what you're going to find. This is a lie about what the American white family is. It's not nice dinner. It's abused mom. It's sad mom. Stepford mom. It's black help. Today, it's poverty-stricken family and Trump supporter dad. That's American family. This is the lie that America was great. It is great. Neither is true. Its families aren't. The real family is the international family. Sometimes it has to be found because there are no families in America, because they're all full of patriarchal, capitalist, abusive men and angry, abusive men. Children treated like commodities for future aggrandizement, not seen and not heard unless daddy wants to. And they're broken because of the American failed public schooling system. They're broken because of the American capitalism that forces mommy and daddy to give 8+ hours of their lives per day to an abusive boss. And there is no family to be found in America. The family is to be found often in found family, you know? Like, there's many people that are finding family in their leftist organizations. There's found family in indigenous and Black Lives Matter groups. There's found family in little circles of healedness, recovering from their abusive white daddies and their white families. That's where the family is to be found. There is no family in America. That's the lie of Black, another lie of Black Widow. There was never a happy family. It was always a racist, capitalist, sexist, abusive family. And America, and also Canada, because I have a partner that's from that part of the world, and they're all white in that family, they like pretending that they have a happy family sitting around the dinner table eating apple pie, but the apple pie was always rotten. Daddy was always a liar and a gaslighter, which is what he did at his capitalist job, as a taker of the abuse or the boss at his job, or in the US military, or in the economic leadership, because that the rot comes down. The abuse in the family, that's where you're trained to be a capitalist American, is by abusing your wife and your children. Because you're gonna do that in the workplace. You're gonna take abuse or you're gonna give abuse. You come back and you get drunk if you're a worker, and then you abuse your family like my dad, or like my grandpa and many other members of my family, my great grandpa did. And then you pretend like it's all apple pie and happy, 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 happy. There was abuse in my family, but it's weirdly, it was actually from child to parent. But we gloss over that. We pretend like we're all eating happy apple pie. We're all happy family. There are no happy families in America. There can't be. You're liars. You can't have happy healedness in lies. You have to admit, the first step of an Alcoholics Anonymous, and you go to therapy, we have to start admitting the trauma that we have. If you can't admit that you are an alcoholic, you have a problem, you have trauma, you can't heal from it. And American and Canadian and white families cannot ever admit the truth, because to admit the truth would to be undo what makes them American, which is bullshitting, gaslighting, and hurting other people. To tell the truth about who you actually are as a father, as a husband, as an abuser or an abuse taker at work, as a cog in a tyrannical corporate machine, whether you are the cog or you're the cog turner. To come clean about that. And that's why they take Americans who are abused in the workplace, come home and take it out on their family. Because you will never not be abused. You are always going to be abused in a capitalist structure. Doesn't matter who you are, you will be always abused. The abuser or the abused. And when you abuse someone, you are the abuser. There is no healed place of culture anywhere in America or Canada. I would argue that. And so this idea that the family can never be, no, this is a lie. This is a Stepford lie. This is a Wanda lie. It's a very nice television program constructed by a superhero matrix, or a television program which is a CIA matrix with Hollywood characteristics, or by your father, your mother, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your parent, your guidance counselor, your school, your education, your community, your church. But it's all a lie. You know it's a lie. You know it is. You have to know it is somewhere. like, you know, and that's the one honest thing is that the one honest thing Black Widow says is all of the things that we had was a lie. Everything about our family was a lie, you know. But the truth is, it's not just the Black Widow Russian fake 3 years of we're pretending to be American so that mommy can go be a Soviet spy in American, you know, intelligence laboratories and steal biotech, so that we can brain control people at home, right? Not that America does that, but we're gonna go do that at home. America's good. The lie is not that there was a fake family. The lie is that there was ever a happy family in America. That's the real lie. There was ever a happy workplace. There never was. The happy, as Richard Wolff would say, the reason why there is a happy hour after the 8 hours is because the 8 hours you spent at your workplace, and almost virtually every one of them is capitalist, is because the 8 hours were abusive and sad. And then you come home and you make your wife sad, because you know if you're the working class white man, you are the sad mom in the workplace. You're the sad man in the workplace being abused by your abusive boss who's threatening you with homelessness and being a failed man if you ever don't do what I say when I say. And then you come home and abuse your wife and your children, and that can never be a happy family. That can never be a happy family. So, you know, so bye, you know, so anyway, so that's another level. So that bye American Pie is, you know, they sing that song. There's a very poignant scene where they sing that song. You know, it's like when but again, it's to me it's inverted. It's like, oh, remember the time, bye Miss American Pie. There's a scene where like the family breaks up. They're like, no, this is bullshit. I don't want this was just a cover for our Soviet malfeasance. We're all brainwashed backwards, evil Soviets. We're all bad people. And they break up. They say this is all a lie. But then the dad comes in. He starts singing, bye Miss American Pie, and they're all like, yeah, remember. You know, we took the Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. This will be, you know, it's like, remember that, you know, we can be happy. And the way it works in the film is, hey, yes, we've done terrible things. We've done terrible things as Russian communists, but we can come back together and be good, happy Americans again. You know, we just have to defect and join the good, happy Americans, and then we can be a happy American family. And by the end, I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but it works out. You know, it does work out. Like, some people get to be happy American family. But that's the lie, is that there are any happy American family. There can never be. There can only be found families outside of the American nuclear Stepford lie. That's the real lie. So anyways, that's you know, and so that's why that's what that song really means to me, is about America. What the song should be is, by American Pie, America was never good. Good riddance. The whole thing was always rotten. It was always, the apples had worms of capitalism and slavery and colonialism wriggling their ways throughout the entire time. Nobody really liked the taste of it. Your white food was all, the turkey was under-seasoned and not salted enough. None of y'all washed your asses. Everybody smelled like shit, and nobody wanted to talk to each other. The American apple pie was always rotten. And like, now, thank God, it's going away and being replaced with actually nice seasoned Chinese food and Hawaiian food, and you know, the American pie is being replaced by tasty Hawaiian kalopig and poi, which is also better for you than some not MSG. That's a Chinese anti-China thing. Filled with see, that's my stormtrooper training coming back to me. Filled with red dye 40 and, you know, over sweetened glucose and all kind of diabetes causing garbage, and then the diet pills they sell to you to make you look the fake desirable twiggy thin. You know, American pie was always the shit for you. It was always bad for you, culturally, literally, the food itself, intellectually, brain poison, liberal brainworms, conservative brainworms, fake left brainworms. It was always bad for you. The worms are in your brain, the worms are in your food, the worms are everywhere. The worms are eating out all of the thrown away millions of pounds of Safeway potatoes and the grocery store in Portland's meats that the cops are defending. It's all rotten. It's always been rotten. Thank God the American pie is going away, and it's going to be replaced by a ethnically diverse, like a Xinjiang, Hui, Kazakh, and Uyghur open free market of people participating under communism and dialectical materialism, serving up well-spiced tandoori food, serving up with goat's milk, bubble tea, and turmeric, and a good amount of pepper and cumin in the future Indian curries, and the Thai curry, and the Vietnamese pho, and the banh mi, and the Hawaiian food, and the Hispanic food after all their kids are let out of the cages when America doesn't exist anymore, and they can actually make their tacos instead of for like $3 an hour on Macau Ice, they can make them for like a good living wage until we have full stateless classes military society. Thank God that we won't have to eat American rotten pie and have it shoved down our throats. Bye, Miss American Pie. Thank God. Thank God that's going away. Anyways, one final thing I want to make with one. I know I've said this one final comment 7 times, but I'm full of shit. But this is just one more. This is just one more level of the American Pie lie. U.S. troop suicides rise as Pentagon. This is part of it rotting away. U.S. troop suicides rise as Pentagon official points to U.S. military stretched by China. A disturbing surge in suicides among troops, says alarmed senior Pentagon officials who say demands on troops have grown unsustainable. Oh no. So this is the U.S. needlessly increasing atrocious military-industrial complex against China to maintain global capitalism and neo-colonial exploitation of people and planet. Also U.S. China made us hurt China, which ended up hurting our troops. We need more troops to hurt more China. Again, this is the blaming other people for what you're doing. This is the self-destructive level of that's happening now, right? And why Black Widow is failing is because it didn't reach out. That was what I wanted to say. So again, this is the U.S. Film Ministry is heaving a sigh of relief as Black Widow is poised to become highest grossing domestic debut. That's sad because Black Widow is a failure compared to Fast 9 and all the Chinese movies. The Scarlett Johansson star is projected to earn $80 million in North America, so it's already earned $300 million, which is not bad, but it's nothing close to Fast 9. It did beat out. See, this is important. Black Widow inside of America. I think this lends credence to the point that I've been making this entire stream. Black Widow inside America, right, tells the Avengers story. It tells the white American story. And so similarly, inside of America, it has beat out Fast 9, which is an international story. However, China is not on the international roster. The picture of Black Widow is far from rosy in the world's largest market, where politics are proving once again to Trump profit. Now, again, this is Variety as an imperialist rag, like every site in the West, left, right, and center, basically, projecting it's Chinese that are hurting Black Widow. Hey, have better representation. Like I said, right? Have better representation. Fucking don't lie about Russia. Like the America's anti-hegemonical powers. Right? Don't have a bunch of white people only. Do more like Vin. Don't blame China. It's not that the Chinese are trying to score political points. You are just being an asshole to non-Western, non-American countries. Don't blame the Chinese for that. And then they're saying, right, piracy and China is bad. Piracy and prioritizing, politics of China and piracy of China destroying the box office before it manages to reach their shores. China censorship. Don't blame piracy if it's the Chinese. This is, again, Chinese stealing our stuff. This is Yellow Peril, tired racist narratives. Chinese censorship authorities. Okay, so China's censorship, like America has censorship. It's called deleting 3,000 people saying Breonna Taylor's name. You did this to Donald Trump. You have censorship too. It's capitalist and pro-oligarchist, and they let Trump not be censored for a long time until it was inconvenient because he was destroying their hegemony. So don't blame the authoritarian censorship. You have the censorship too. China's censorship authorities approved Black Widow for release back in March. Marvel has yet to offer any indication of a release for. See, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. They approved it. Marvel did not release it. This is your fault. This is your fault. You know, why didn't you? Probably because America said we're trying to make war with them. I don't know I don't know why. Cause you're racist? What? It's not because you don't want to make money. Because I know you're a bunch of capitalist clowns like your billionaire CEO that runs Disney. Why didn't you? Why didn't you release it in China? Huh? Where Vin Diesel made hundreds of millions, the majority of the revenue. Why didn't you? Why didn't you? No, because Marvel is a racist American imperial propaganda pusher. Hong Kong, meanwhile, was actually one of the first territories in the world to release it, thanks to its Asia time zone. Why did you release it in Hong Kong and not the rest? Why? Because Hong Kong was recently a Western colony, and lots of them are on your side, as Gusano Andino type, you know, like Taiwan. Is that why you released it in Hong Kong and not the rest? That's probably why. I don't know. That's a speculation, but this is, you know, a belated China release could spell trouble. No shit. Disney Plus does not operate in China. When the streaming service released the film online for $30 fee, other territories Friday, it released an easily pirated high-definition version of the film that reached Chinese consumers. So you're full of shit. People are doing that kind of thing all over the world. Don't blame the Chinese for stealing all the stuff. That's just anti-China Asian racism. That's imperialist. Let's hate China more and start more economic and hot wars and cold wars. From today on, all kinds of pirated versions of Blackwood. Don't blame. Your fault. This is your fault. You shouldn't have made a white-centered, lie-filled, bullshit propaganda U.S. military-industrial complex movie. If you didn't do that, you would be selling like fucking fast. And also, be nice to the Chinese. They approved your movie as lacking in Asian representation and global South and global representation as it is, as full of shit about the Cold War as Black Widow is. The Chinese approved it. Your studio, your American studio, did not roll it out. It's your fault. But they're still blaming China because you know, everything else, there's a bunch of little gold diapered babies. As of Friday, Variety found scores of pirated videos and charts, blah, 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 blah. Certain illegal sites powered by online gaming ads. Many are available to stream for free without any registration for downloads via a single click. You could say this about any movie. Vin Diesel didn't go, hey, you know what? I could have made another 100 million if people didn't download it. Did you see Vin going, Chinese gaming ad sites letting them stream for free? No, he just said thank you. He said, thanks a lot for watching my movie. Thanks a lot, China, Africa, South America, Central America, you know, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, international audiences, for making Fast 9 the highest grossing film in English as a first language, English as the primary language film in the world, beating out the closest American movie by twofold. You know, don't cry about how the world is racist to me. This is the international, you know, nation to nation. This is like the empire to colonized people version of black people are being racist against me because they said that I was racist when I said a racist thing. You know, this is like the cinematic version of don't do that. Don't be a child. Grow the fuck up. Release the goddamn movie. Make a better movie next time. Your movie obviously did well for your white American audiences. Just make a less white-centered movie next time. Many pirated copies are listed as 1080p, HD, or 4K quality, or equipped with Dolby Sound. Some already come outfitted with Chinese subtitles, which are often created by groups of fast-acting volunteers. Oh, the Chinese are sneakily subtitling all my movies. Every other movie has Chinese subtitles, and there's gonna be free. There's Chinese and like Spanish and English versions all over the planet that are coming out. Don't fucking blame this on them. One of the major fan-generated subtitles are these 9 versions of the Black. You know, this is it's quarter to 2 anyway. Same piracy play. Anyway, so I know I went off on this before, but I want to point out that this not only is this confirming what I'm saying, the excuse that the pro-US, these more pro-US, pro-white, pro-capitalist, pro-imperialist, pro-American military movies against the rest of the world, they're blaming China, they're blaming everything else, they're blaming anyone, like a white guy, white dad, white husband, blaming everyone else but himself, and I count my dad in this, blaming everyone else but himself for his errors, like a boss blaming all of his employees. right? Like Democrats blaming the Republicans for everything bad that's happened, and they did everything good that ever happened, and America's great. You're blaming the Chinese. No. Anyways, okay, it's 1:45, so we gotta get off. But anyway, Neofeud is a video game that I have created on. It does support everything that we do here at the Silver Spook Games. It is a game that is, again, like I've been saying, it's trying to tell the truth as best as can be. I can manage. I can never give you the full. I don't know what the full truth is, but I try to give it as best as I can manage to do it. And Neofeud is a cyberpunk game that is about my experiences as a native Hawaiian, as a colonized person living in a ghetto, working on the not so nice side of the coconut trees with at-risk youth, the underprivileged, the under-resourced, disproportionately non-white, as a social worker, STEM teacher, living in a homeless tent city. It deals with police violence, the police and prison and military-industrial complex that work together, so that we have some of the highest Hawaiian and Pacific Islander incarceration rates in Hawaii, and also some of the highest rates of people joining the U.S. military and committing these horrible traumas and evils across the world, and then coming back traumatized. And also it deals with hyper inequality under a neo-feudal world in which fully automated luxury space fascist capitalist descendants of Elon Musk and the Bezos, the Bloombergs, the Clintons and Bushes have floating palaces at Versailles in the sky above a 99% landfill crossed with a slum earth, with cyborg social workers for sentient machine robots, and trying to keep their gangster robot kids out of gangs and off of drugs, and trying to undo the system. Not doing very well in Neofeud, but Neofeud is a game that is trying to do cyberpunk the way that I think that it was done, trying to be honest about things economically, socially, and politically in the cyberpunk vein. If that sounds interesting, do check it out. If you have a second to leave in even a very short review, please consider doing so. Neofeud, if you are some kind of leftist of some sort, Neofeud explored the depths that make up our capitalist reality, and I found the game to be a multidimensional representation of Marxist Das Kapital. It is received as a labor of love, one that speaks to the cultural references of our generation. If you are a not playing video games on Windows, if you don't play games on Windows and you have Mac and Linux instead, you can get Neofeud for Mac and Linux on itch.io. You can get it digital rights management free. It is a game that you can also give us a slightly higher cut on itch, and you can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Neofeud. Patreon.com/Neofeud, which is a site where you can give us recurring donations, and also when you become a Patreon patron, you get access to the Silver Spook Discord and the community, and you also get access to all of our Neofeud 2 updates of what I'm currently working on, and also you get to support housing, feeding, clothing, keeping the lights on, and development of Neofeud 2. So do consider becoming a Patreon patron. Also, at Silver Spook Games at Octodon Social is my main Mastodon account, which is Mastodon is a non-capitalist controlled federated social media platform where you can not be on a platform that is backed by Wall Street, the military industrial complex in Silicon Valley, and a billionaire mega corporation that does whatever those ruling class want. Like, for example, push up lies about Cuba when America's trying to overthrow it, saying that it's a terrible dictatorship there and they're all starving, leaving out the fact that America has sanctioned $130 billion worth of embargoes, crushing them in terms of their economy and health and education and basic material needs. And, that sucks. That's what I don't like about Twitter. But while we have slightly more access to the Death Star satellites, and they haven't cut me off for saying true things yet, because the West can never tell the truth, you can still get me on the Death Star satellites at Silver Spook Guy. And you can also follow me at Silver Spook Games for the game-related stuff. At Silver Spook Games minus the E in silver. And you can also follow... That's for the games-related stuff. And you can also follow Terminus C. Terminus Cyberstar is a cyberpunk game that is coming out. Oh, by the way, if you didn't know, Neofeud is on sale right now. I forgot to put that up on the sale, but it is on sale for the next little bit. So don't forget, if you do want to support us, you can also just pick up Neofeud the video game. And it does help us out a lot. That's the main way that we continue to do the praxis and the educational work and leftist work. And I will be trying to help fundraise for homeless comrades in the massive round robin Twitch housing fundraiser stream, including Luna Oi, American Johnson, Azure Scapegoats. I can't remember everybody. There's a lot of people involved in that, raising money for people that are going to be homeless soon. So I will be probably jumping in. I'm not sure where exactly, but anyways, do check out Neofeud and do check out Terminus Cyberstar, which is a other game I'm working on. It is a low poly cyberpunk immersive sim in the vein of games like Deus Ex, System Shock 2, and it's a game that is going to be coming out sometime in the near future. We're nearing the release of a demo. There was recently a new update. This is the latest on Terminus Cyberstar. Latest graphical update, world update. It's looking very cool, looking very good. So I highly recommend if you want to play a cyberpunk game that is, again, doesn't pull the punches. I am the content director on this video game, and you want to play a 3D cyberpunk RPG like Cyberpunk 2077, but not made by a terrible transphobic capitalist shithole that abuses its workers like CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk 2077. Terminus Cyberstar is available to follow at Terminus C. You can also join the Discord. Finally, thanks to all these people. I forgot that I have to go back on soon, so I should probably get off sooner. And thanks Holly for reminding me about that. Thanks Holly for moderating, as always. Very important member of the Silver Spook Cooperative, and important digital manager, as well as working with the Kate Nix stream as a producer, which is another show that you should check out. I will be making some kind of appearance in the Kate Nix show sometime in the near future. It's a variety show. That's very cool and interesting. And Holly is, again, the co-producer on that. And again, thanks to all these people. I can't read all your names because there's so many people, so I'm not going to read it out every time. But thanks to all of these Patreon supporters. It is massively appreciated. It does help make possible everything that we do here. Comedian says you can't watch on Twitch. Well, sorry to hear that. Good luck getting Twitch to work. But if you can't, there's always the YouTube one. And anyways, until next time, keep your merchandise polished. Be excellent to each other. Again, I don't say that these movies are bad. Black Widow's not a bad movie. It's an entertaining movie. All the Avengers, all the movies, most movies, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. With the exception of Jason X and House of the Dead. Jesus Christ, what was that? But the politics and the education that they are installing in the heads of people, the normalization of things about the world that they're putting in people's heads, is what I disagree with. Just to be clear about Black Widow, and I'm not saying Scarlett Johansson sucks. Scarlett Johansson is I don't know about the Ghost in the Shell could have had a better choice than that, but this is about everything I've said today is about, as a disclaimer, that's about the politics of it. And I'm not saying that Disney is evil. Well, I'm not saying I don't like giant capitalist corporations that work with the U.S. military. But I am saying that for the good of everyone, let's start to try to be better at movie making, telling the truth in our schools, in our colleges, in our discords, in our friend circles, in our echo chambers, in our movies, in our games, in our indie and AAA games, in our books, and etc. That's all I'm saying. Just try to be more honest. All right, take it easy, everybody.